Immortal Cultivation. I run an internet cafe in another world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 651. Feeling of unease. Although this thing does look very strange, but I don't know what the origin of this magic is. So Daoist wanted to stop Bai Luo, but it was too late. Bai Luo directly grasped the artifact in front of him. The moment Bai Luo's hand touched the artifact, the light on the artifact suddenly disappeared. Bai Luo looked at the artifact in his hand in disbelief, because artifacts like this are spiritual. They usually recognize their masters. If they encounter a force that is not in line with themselves, they may release a very strong attack force. But now Bai Luo did not feel any repulsive force. On the contrary, he felt that the artifact in his hand was very kind. Then Bai Luo put the artifact in his hand and found that he could use it at will. I didn't expect that this blue thunder diamond cover was so easily tamed by me, and Bai Luo was naturally very surprised. Daoist on the side saw the situation here. He looked at the blue thunder diamond cover in Bai Luo's hand with great curiosity and then said happily, "Has this artifact been tamed by you, brother Bai? I feel like it is now like a weapon in your hand." Bai Luo looked at the artifact in his hand. If it was based on what happened just now, he seemed to have become the master of this artifact. He didn't expect things to go so smoothly, and then Bai Luo nodded. "It should be. But now I can't be very sure, and I don't know if the situation is the same as I think." As soon as Bai Luo finished speaking, he didn't expect a circle of people in black to suddenly appear around him. These people in black covered their faces tightly. There were quite a lot of them. After a while, they directly surrounded Bai Luo and his group. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo couldn't help but frowned. But Bai Luo was not very worried, because he didn't think these people would be very strong. It was possible that they were in the same group as the group just now. Then Bai Luo slowly drew his sword, and Daoist on the side also made preparations to fight. But just when Bai Luo and the others were about to attack, they didn't expect that the blue Thunder King Khan shield in Bai Luo's hand suddenly lit up. In an instant, a very strong force came out from the body of the blue Thunder King Khan shield, which was a very strong force of thunder and lightning. This force rushed directly to the black clothed men in front of them. Those people couldn't react at all, and they had no ability to deal with this powerful force of thunder and lightning. Then they were directly shattered. After seeing this situation, the remaining people didn't dare to stay here any longer. After all, if they stayed any longer, they might not be able to save their lives. Bai Luo didn't expect that he could beat those people back without doing anything himself. He looked at the blue Thunder King Khan shield in his hand, and then couldn't help laughing. Unexpectedly, this artifact was really powerful, and now this artifact has become their own. Bai Luo and Daoist were very happy. Half an hour later, the two were already some distance away from the place just now. Daoist looked at the blue Thunder King Khan shield in Bai Luo's hand, and then said with a smile, "This artifact is really powerful. We just beat those people back before we even made a move. If we make good use of this artifact, we will have a lot easier later." Bai Luo nodded. In fact, he didn't expect that this blue Thunder King Khan cover was so powerful, and he was surprised that he got this blue Thunder King Khan cover so smoothly. However, the two of them didn't dwell on this matter anymore. After all, they had more important things to do next. But not long after, Bai Luo felt that the spiritual power in his body suddenly fluctuated again. This feeling was very bad, and Bai Luo frowned. He felt a dull pain in his head, and some scenes in front of him became blurred. Some things in front seemed to be very attractive to Bai Luo. Bai Luo didn't know why he suddenly walked forward. He slowly approached the things over there, but when he walked, Bai Luo heard a voice calling his name. Could it be Daoist or the senior calling him? Bai Luo thought so, and then turned around quickly, but there was no one behind him. Clearly, the two of them were by his side just now, but now they suddenly disappeared. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. He quickly looked around him and found that the environment he was in seemed to have completely changed. He didn't even know when he came here. Bai Luo frowned and looked at everything around him, and then he wondered if he had entered an illusion. After all, it would be completely unreasonable to put this thing in real life. If Bai Luo remembered correctly, his surroundings were not like this. He was in a forest just now, but now the trees here have become very short, which is obviously completely different from the place just now. So Bai Luo wondered if he was in an illusion. Then everything he saw in front of him was fake. After realizing this, Bai Luo quickly did it. Anyway, he had no way to break this illusion for the time being, so Bai Luo could only meditate quickly to find a way to break the illusion. After all, this kind of thing still depends on skills. And then Bai Luo slowly closed his eyes. When Bai Luo was using his spiritual power to perceive the world around him, he suddenly found that there were a lot of special substances around him. Special substances like this have very strong spiritual power in their bodies. If they are used well, these substances can also be good helpers for cultivation. So Bai Luo directly put all these substances into his bag. Bai Luo was looking for these substances with special functions here, and then he made a new discovery. Because he found himself in a bush, but suddenly a lot of tree trunks grew around him. Bai Luo didn't think much about it at first. After all, he was in a fantasy now, so it was not surprising to see some things that violated common sense. But at this time, Bai Luo suddenly felt a strong sense of uneasiness in his heart. This feeling was very strong. Although Bai Luo wanted to continue to look forward, he knew that he couldn't go forward anyway. Although there might be more strange substances ahead, Bai Luo might not be able to deal with some bad things now. Thinking of this, Bai Luo turned around and went back. Chapter 652, The Opponent's Self-Destruction. Little guy. Bai Luo. But at this moment, the voice sounded in his mind again. The man was still calling his name, and the voice seemed very far away. But Bai Luo didn't pay attention to him, because he knew that the situation seemed a little bad now. If he took a wrong step, he would probably fall into the abyss. Bai Luo couldn't help but speed up his pace. He had to leave here quickly. After all, the situation was getting more and more difficult to control. But as he walked, Bai Luo saw Duotu and the senior not far away. Seeing them appear here, Bai Luo couldn't help but be stunned. He didn't expect Duotu and the senior to suddenly appear in front of him. Could it be that he had walked out of the illusion now? This also made Bai Luo feel very strange. But before Bai Luo could react, Duotu and the old man came over after seeing Bai Luo. They were also very excited to see Bai Luo, and then Duotu said to Bai Luo, "Brother Bai, we finally found you. We also entered the illusion just now, and now we finally came out. Not long after, we saw you." Bai Luo frowned and said hesitantly, "How did you get out of the illusion? After all, it's not so easy to get out of the illusion." Duotu thought for a while, then looked at the old man next to him, and continued, "We don't know how we entered the illusion at that time, but it was only after the senior successfully pierced the sky that we were able to get out. I don't know why. Bai Luo always felt that this matter was very strange. He looked at Duotu and the old man next to him, hesitated for a while, and didn't say much. But Duotu next to him was very excited and continued to talk. When he saw Bai Luo didn't say anything. "Brother Bai, how is the situation on your side? After all, we don't know how we suddenly separated just now, and nothing should have happened on your side." Bai Luo recalled the situation just now. He didn't know why things changed so quickly. After all, he was still in the illusion before, but now Duotu and the old man suddenly appeared in front of him again. This also made Bai Luo a little suspicious of the situation in front of him, but Bai Luo did not speak out his thoughts directly. He looked at Duotu in front of him, frowned and replied, "I have dealt with the matter here. I also entered the illusion just now, but now it seems that the situation has been resolved. Since there is nothing else here, let's continue to go. Anyway, everything that needs to be resolved has been resolved, and your side seems to be progressing more smoothly than mine." Bai Luo finally did not speak out his doubts in his heart. After all, he didn't know whether he could trust Duotu and the old man in front of him. Or in other words, Bai Luo didn't know whether he had walked out of the illusion. This was very important to Bai Luo. This made Bai Luo feel very strange, but he didn't explain to Duotu and the old man, nor did he plan to confront them. He just let the matter develop like this. As for what to do next, Bai Luo already had a plan in his mind. Although he was a little confused, Bai Luo continued on his way. The three of them continued to travel here, and it seemed as if what happened just now had not happened. After a while, nothing else happened to Bai Luo. The journey was quite uneventful, and no one else came to cause trouble. But before Bai Luo could relax, he heard the sound of a cup being smashed. After hearing this sound, Bai Luo couldn't help but frown. After all, it was very unusual to hear such a sound suddenly in such a place. Bai Luo didn't believe it was a coincidence, which proved that there was a high possibility that someone was following them. He looked in the direction of the sound, and then took Duotu and the old man to that direction. Let's go over and see what's going on. If we hurry up, we may be able to catch up with that person and see what's going on over there. The three of them ran over like this. As expected, Bai Luo heard the sound very clearly, and the person who made the sound was not far away from him. As soon as Bai Luo walked over, he saw a sneaky person. The person was hunched over there, and he didn't know what he was doing. The person obviously hadn't noticed that Bai Luo and the others had come, and was busy with his own things. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo directly drew his weapon and shouted over there, "What are you doing?" After hearing Bai Luo's voice, the man looked at Bai Luo in horror and stopped what he was doing. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. After seeing that the situation was not good, the man wanted to escape from here at a very fast speed. Since he finally found the clues here, Bai Luo would naturally not let him go so easily. Moreover, the time and place where this man appeared were very suspicious. The action just now should be doing something bad, which looked sneaky. So Bai Luo wanted to catch the man and ask him clearly. The three of them quickly chased after him. Although the speed of pulling people was indeed very fast, Bai Luo and the other three were not to be outdone. Soon Bai Luo ran in front and blocked the man's way. The man wanted to change direction and continue to escape, but he was unexpectedly stopped by Duotu and the old man on the other side. After seeing this situation, the man had no choice but to stop. He looked at Bai Luo and the others very vigilantly, and Bai Luo also kept an eye on the man's every move to see what he would do next. The man looked very panicked. He didn't expect that he would be discovered suddenly. Bai Luo didn't want to waste time talking to him, so he said directly, "What are you doing here? Why are you here?" The man just kept pursing his lips and didn't mean to answer Bai Luo at all. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo directly pointed out his situation. "I advise you to recognize your current situation. Anyway, you can't escape from our grasp. Even if you don't say it now, we will have ways to make you say it later." In fact, Bai Luo didn't intend to torture him. He said so much now, just to make the man compromise as soon as possible. But the man still didn't make any move. Bai Luo felt a little helpless when he saw this situation. But at this moment, the expression on the man's face suddenly changed. Seeing that he turned red all over, Bai Luo guessed what the man wanted to do at this time. This man actually wanted to self-destruct. The man just now should have been just stalling for time. During this time, he directly gathered all his internal energy into his body. Chapter 653, multiple pictures that should not be ignored. But Bai Luo hadn't thought about it at all, so it wasn't easy for him to react. When he just figured it out, it was too late for all these things. Suddenly there was a burst of sound, and the man in front of him was shattered into pieces. This was a very strong force, and Bai Luo could watch the wave of energy rushing towards them. Just when Bai Luo subconsciously wanted to dodge, the old man on the other side waved his hand, and then a barrier formed in front of them. This force was really very strong. Although the old man had made a barrier for them, it was obvious that the barrier was also hit hard. But in the end, they survived. After the explosion ended, the old man on the side couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Seeing the situation in front of him, Bai Luo knew that the senior must have consumed a lot of energy just now. Then Bai Luo hurriedly checked the situation of the senior on the side and found that the senior's face did look a little weak. He also guessed that the old man must have used his soul power to form a barrier to help them escape. Bai Luo was a little worried about the old man's condition, so he asked Senior, "Are you okay? Is there anything I can help you with?" The old man sighed and then answered, "What happened just now happened too suddenly, so my soul power was released without any order. It really consumed a lot of soul power just now, so I have to rest for a while now. I have to go back to Bai Luo's ring to recuperate." After hearing the old man's words, Bai Luo nodded quickly. After all, the old man had always stayed in his ring before, and then the old man came out to talk to him. "Then you should have a good rest, Senior. Leave the rest to us." The old man nodded and then disappeared in front of them. Looking at the situation in front of him, Bai Luo was still a little worried. After all, they have been here for a while now, and there are really a lot of things happening. Some accidents caught Bai Luo off guard. Although they were careful enough, he really couldn't react in many cases. So they have to be more careful. Duo 2, we have to be extra careful every step we take. Everything that happened here is really incredible. Duo 2 nodded in agreement. He did think that the enemies had all kinds of ways to deal with them. These things are indeed very strange, but we can't be too anxious now. If we are too anxious, we might lose our composure. I believe that, as long as we continue to investigate, we will definitely get some clues. Bai Luo patted Duo 2's shoulder and said with a smile, "I will definitely continue to investigate this matter. I think we will have the answer soon." The two did not stay there for long. After all, everything here was almost dealt with. They have not yet obtained the clues they want, so they have to continue to move forward. The two continued to move forward, being extra careful every step they took. But before they had taken a few steps, the whole sky suddenly turned dark. Bai Luo also felt a strong air pressure. The wind in front of them whistled past, whistling wantonly above Bai Luo and his friends' heads. Bai Luo immediately raised his alert, and sure enough, there was a black dragon hovering not far above their heads. He did not expect such a situation to happen again. After all, he had not adjusted yet, and he did not want to waste time here. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo wanted to take Duo 2 away directly. "Let's go quickly, before he finds us. Let's leave quickly." Duo 2 nodded, and then wanted to leave with Bai Luo. But Bai Luo still thought too easily, because the black dragon had already discovered them. He also noticed Bai Luo's intention, and then roared towards Bai Luo, and the roar of the black dragon resounded throughout the sky. It seems that the current situation is not easy to deal with. Bai Luo looked at Duo 2 on the side, and felt that this matter seemed very tricky. He hesitated for a while, and finally walked to Duo 2's side, and said to Duo 2, "You leave here first, leave this here to me. You can go back to the manor, and wait for me there." Because Bai Luo did not know what would happen next, although the black dragon looked strong, he could still delay it for a while. Doing this can also stop the loss in time, and there may be a way to leave here later. However, Duo 2 seemed to have guessed Bai Luo's thoughts. He looked at Bai Luo beside him, and then shook his head and refused. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. Brother Bai, I won't leave like this. This is really too unfair. Bai Luo was a little helpless. After all, he had already thought about this matter. The two of them staying here is nothing more than a threat to the lives of two people. Bai Luo now just wants to minimize the loss. Just when Bai Luo was about to say something, Duo 2 on the side drew his weapon and rushed towards the black dragon. Seeing this situation, Bai Luo followed without hesitation. But before he ran a few steps, he found that Duo 2's sword stabbing the black dragon just now seemed to have worked. The black dragon was scared away after seeing this situation. I guess Duo 2 also gave the black dragon enough deterrence just now. Bai Luo stayed where he was and was somewhat surprised to see that the situation had changed so quickly. Although he knew Duo 2 and his skills had indeed improved a lot recently, the attack Duo 2 launched on the black dragon just now was not something Duo 2 could do. Because Bai Luo knew Duo 2's strength well enough, He felt that this matter was indeed contrary to common sense. Thinking of this, Bai Luo hurried forward. He looked at Duo 2 who was standing beside him, and then directly expressed his confusion. Duo 2, how did you suddenly become so powerful? Did you have another breakthrough? After hearing what Bai Luo said, Duo 2 also looked at his hands with some doubt. He was indeed a little anxious just now, and later he didn't know why a powerful force suddenly appeared in his body. This force helped him to repel the black dragon just now, but now he couldn't sense the existence of that force. He didn't know what the reason was. Now that Bai Luo asked this question, Duo 2 couldn't answer it. He just frowned and said to Bai Luo in front of him in confusion, I don't know why, but my body suddenly felt full of strength just now, and this is what happened next. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 654. Everyone arrives. However, Bai Luo was still a little worried. Although this matter was indeed a good thing, this power without reason made Bai Luo a little uneasy. After all, it is indeed necessary to be careful when a strange power appears in a person's body. If it causes any harm to Duo 2's body at that time, the consequences will be disastrous. Bai Luo thought about it and then took out some pills from his pocket and handed them to Duo 2. Take these pills first. Although I don't know what the situation is, your body is still the most important. Duo 2 and the others listened to Bai Luo the most, so Bai Luo nodded and agreed without thinking about what he said. Then he took the pills. Although Bai Luo was still a little worried, he could do nothing about it now. Then Bai Luo and the others continued on their way. After all, the black dragon had been repelled just now, which was also thanks to Duo 2. Not long after walking, Bai Luo and the others heard footsteps, and he quickly stopped. Bai Luo's face was not good. After all, judging from the footsteps, the number of people in that group was definitely not small. Just as Bai Luo slowly drew out his weapon and prepared to fight, he unexpectedly saw the faces of Mondo and his friends. When he rushed over, these people turned out to be Mondo and his friends. Bai Luo felt a little shocked. After all, Bai Luo had asked them to go back to the manor before, and he didn't expect to see them here again. However, Bai Luo felt something was wrong from a distance, because the number of people on Mondo's side seemed to be much larger than what he remembered. However, Bai Luo didn't ask this question first, he just hurried over. Mondo's expression looked very relaxed. After seeing Bai Luo, he ran over happily. Bai Luo hurriedly asked about Mondo's situation. How are you doing over there? Nothing unexpected happened. Mondo smiled and nodded, because the situation over there was indeed much better. He didn't expect that there was still room for recovery. He had good news over there, so after seeing Bai Luo, Mondo hurriedly told Bai Luo the good news over there. Brother Bai, look at how many people we have here. These are the people called by the people around, so we are not at a big disadvantage in terms of numbers now. And there are not many enemies outside now. I don't think they pose a big threat to us. Yifu nodded, and he and Mondo described the situation here to Bai Luo. Now those people are not our opponents at all. As long as we keep working hard, we can drive them back directly. After we drive those enemies away, everyone can continue to return to their normal lives, and they don't have to worry every day. Everyone can live and work in peace. The new people around also echoed. They really wanted to contribute their own strength to protect the peace here, so they finally decided to join Bai Luo and his team. Hearing everyone's words of unity, Bai Luo was naturally very happy. They did suffer a lot of losses before, because they did not have an advantage in numbers, but fortunately they also resolved many crises during this period. Now they have eliminated a lot of enemies. Thinking about the good news that Mondo told him just now, and looking at the helpers in front of them who are gradually increasing, Bai Luo also felt that it was time to fight to the death, and he didn't want to waste time with them here. He could play with them, but the people couldn't wait any longer. This period of time has tortured everyone. Those people have been wreaking havoc here, making the place uneasy. Seeing everyone's high morale, Bai Luo stood directly in the middle of the crowd and said to everyone, "Everyone, listen to me. Since everyone is willing to join us, and I believe everyone has seen the current situation, if we want to completely drive out those enemies, we must give them a fatal blow and let them know that we are definitely not easy to mess with." Bai Luo paused here and then continued, "As long as we all unite, we will definitely be able to drive out our common enemy in the end and give everyone a safe living environment." After hearing Bai Luo's words, everyone became more excited. These words can really encourage people. Everyone agreed with Bai Luo's statement, and soon they decided to fight back. Bai Luo also prepared a strategy to deal with it. Although their number has indeed increased, there is still a gap between the strength of some people and this. He certainly knows that having more people is a good thing, but Bai Luo will never joke with the lives of ordinary people. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR first published this novel. So in the end, Bai Luo made a decision directly. When the war really starts, those who have cultivation will charge at the front. Those with average cultivation will be the last ones to be cut off, and those unarmed people will stay behind as logistics. Although some people really want to help, they are indeed limited by their own strength, and finally they can only agree to Bai Luo's statement. Just when they wanted to act, they suddenly heard a woman crying outside. Bai Luo naturally heard this sound. He frowned with some doubt, and then looked outside a few times. After all, there have been rumors about some divorce incidents here during this period, and he also heard this kind of crying before. But Bai Luo never believed in such things. He always felt that someone was behind the scenes, and the final purpose was just to disrupt the morale of the army. Obviously, the people behind the scenes also achieved their goal. After all, some people were indeed frightened. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo did not look afraid at all. He looked over there and then saw a blue light. Bai Luo hesitated a little because he didn't know if there would be someone ambushing there. He didn't believe that this was related to any ghost incident, but there was no guarantee that someone was behind it. However, in order to solve this mystery, Bai Luo didn't plan to hide from this matter anymore. Then Bai Luo walked directly over there, but when he got closer to that place, he found that something was wrong with his body. The spiritual power in his body was slowly dissipating, which made Bai Luo unable to react at all. But more than that, he actually felt that his fists were suddenly full of power. This power came inexplicably, and Bai Luo didn't know what was going on. Chapter 655. Let's do it together. Just when Bai Luo was panicking, the uncontrollable force suddenly disappeared. His body was not as uncomfortable as he had imagined, as if everything had returned to the beginning. Bai Luo looked up at the situation around him, and then he was stunned. He actually had a perspective eye, and he could see the situation outside directly from inside the house. This surprised Bai Luo very much. After all, it seemed too sudden, and then Bai Luo tried his special ability repeatedly. It didn't take long for Bai Luo to figure out a set of rules, and now he really had this ability. But this is not omnipotent, because he found that this perspective eye can only last for half an hour. After half an hour, this perspective eye also disappeared naturally. But it doesn't matter at all. As long as he has this ability, it will be much easier to deal with those enemies at that time. Although it is only half an hour, Bai Luo thinks that this half an hour is enough. But this matter is still very strange. Bai Luo doesn't know what is going on, and then he thought of the system again. Maybe the system will know. Then he asked directly, "System, what's going on? How come I suddenly have the ability of perspective? Do you know what the opportunity for this is?" Bai Luo waited for a while, but the system didn't want to pay attention to him at all. He was a little helpless. After all, the system didn't pay attention to him, but Bai Luo was sure that the system must know what he asked. His choice to ignore him should prove his attitude, so Bai Luo didn't plan to continue asking. It just so happened that Bai Luo was in a very good mood now. After all, he suddenly had a function that could be used like this, and it was at this time. As long as he made good use of this special function, many things in the future would be much easier. And Bai Luo did so. After all, there were many enemies in the manor now, and those enemies had been hiding in the dark and didn't come out. Many times, they would shoot cold arrows in the dark, but now the situation was different. After all, he could now directly see their location from a long distance. Bai Luo took some people over and then directly determined their location. After he locked the location of those people, he then found the weakest side of the enemy. Although those people were indeed very cautious in doing things, there were always some omissions. Bai Luo did not hesitate for a long time. Anyway, he already knew what to do. After finding the breakthrough, Bai Luo directly called all the people over. He looked at Mondo who was standing beside him, and then said to them directly, "Wait a minute, everyone, listen to my orders. Let's do it together. There are a little fewer people here, and this is their weakest point. We will attack this place directly, and create a gap here. Then we can run out directly." Half a cup of tea later, when Bai Luo and his friends were proceeding in an orderly manner, they felt something was wrong around them, so they frowned and observed. He did not expect this to happen. He thought these enemies were already difficult to deal with, and now there was something like this. He simply shook his head helplessly. "Brother Bai, what's wrong with you?" Just when Bai Luo's energy became alert, he heard Mondo's questioning voice, and looked in his direction. He thought about what happened just now, and for a moment he didn't know how to tell him about this matter. After all, there were already signs that something was wrong, and there was no time to talk about it in detail. Mondo looked at his hesitation and guessed the difficulty of the matter, so he exchanged positions with several people in the crowd, ready to protect them in this way. When he did this, he heard noises coming from all around, from far to near, as if disturbing their hearts, but looking around, he didn't find anything. Mondo and Duo looked at Bai Luo's anxious look, and they looked at each other, and then quickly came to the position next to them. "Be careful later." Bai Luo felt their gazes, and the emotions revealed in them were understood, so he simply said earnestly. He didn't expect this situation to be like this. Looking at the people around him, he had to think of a solution, because of their safety issues, and they couldn't let them get hurt. The error-free version is read at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 + BOOK_BAR is the first to publish this novel. Mondo and Duo nodded firmly, and then carefully checked the situation around them. Even their steps slowed down. Hoo-hoo. After they made their decision, they were about to say something, when they heard a sound in the air. Before they could react, they felt the storm in front of them. The trees, dust and even weeds around them seemed to have no vitality at this moment, and they completely gave up resistance to such a situation. They didn't expect it to be like this. Although they had already agreed, they still couldn't stop it. It felt like they were back in the desert. Bai Luo was looking for them. Originally, such a situation happened inexplicably. Now, before they had time to figure it out, someone had been hurt. He pursed his lips tightly, his face became gloomy, and used his spiritual power to fight against the storm, and found that it was relieved. "Cover your eyes." Bai Luo's body became lighter because of the dust and some branches hit them, because of the storm around them. He realized something, and quickly closed his eyes, but it was inevitable that the arm on his forehead was no longer of any use. The crowd heard his shouts and quickly obeyed his orders and followed suit. Few people were hurt. In this way, after their mutual resistance, the storm slowly disappeared, and the color of the sky had changed. Everything seemed to have been washed, and seeing that the surroundings were brighter, Bai Luo and others were relieved, and began to observe the surroundings. They found that some people in the crowd had fallen to the ground. Fortunately, they were not seriously injured. They were just some superficial injuries, but they still needed to find a place to rest. Bai Luo saw that there was an open space in the middle, which was still very hidden, so he hurried in their direction and said, "Let's go there to rest. Don't be afraid." Chapter 656, Painful Eyes. Because the incident just happened was so urgent, in order to make them feel relieved, he said comforting words, and started to act. Bai Luo helped them to lift up the injured person, and walked in the direction they had just gone. They took a good rest before setting off again. Mondo and others also got busy. There were often some herbs in the nearby area, so they started to pick them, intending to use this method to heal them. When they finished all this, half an hour had passed. Soon the sky became a little dark, and the previous things did not happen again. Bai Luo saw that everything had been resolved, and then he slowly put down the action in his hands. He felt the stinging pain from the position of his eyes and realized something. Hiss. He subconsciously wanted to rub it with his hands, but was worried that there would be other problems. In the end, he gave up this matter and prepared to use other methods to relieve it. Bai Luo didn't care at first, but his eyes were different now. In order to be more rigorous, he decided to do this. He first observed the situation around him and found that it was safe for the time being. In order to avoid being interrupted when he was practicing, he came to Mondo and others. Bai Luo thought that only in this way could he be completely at ease to do these things, otherwise it would definitely not work, and he would always be thinking about it. Mondo, you guys keep an eye out for the situation around you, I'll go over there. After he finished speaking, he felt the pain in his eyes suddenly intensify, forcing him to close his eyes, and then he did not walk quickly to the next position. Mondo heard Bai Luo's instructions and just nodded. His position also changed, and he paced back and forth to observe. He was able to realize the current situation through what Bai Luo said just now, and was worried that what happened just now would happen again, so he did not relax at all. Bai Luo did not have any worries, because he trusted Mondo and Dota in his heart, so there was no need to worry. He sat on the ground, put his hands on his knees, and felt the blood in his body began to flow faster under the effect of his skills. Bai Luo slowly closed his eyes and did these things without any hesitation because he was relieved in his heart and did not pay attention to the situation around him. Mondo and Duo were on guard and subconsciously looked in the direction of Bai Luo. When they saw that he was frowning, they did not speak. When they were observing the surroundings, they heard the sound of the monsters. Fortunately, the sound was not loud, so they did not take it too seriously. The small monsters smelled their breath and slowly came to their side. In order to let Bai Luo practice his skills with peace of mind, Mondo and Duo took the initiative to attack. Thinking this way, they did not take it too seriously, and they solved them in a few strokes. Bai Luo was practicing his skills seriously, and he had no idea what had just happened. He was just doing what he was doing now, hoping to get some relief. After a while, his eyes began to try to move slowly, and he found that his whole condition was still improving, so he felt relieved. Bai Luo thought this was a good thing. He had not planned to do these things, and thought that he did not have time to deal with them at this juncture. It was just that the pain in his eyes was a little unbearable, and he was worried that it would affect his perspective eyes. In the end, he decided to do this, and solved it in a short time. Bai Luo didn't expect this to happen, so he simply quickened his movements. He thought of something, and slowly opened his eyes, and found that there was no problem. Seeing this, he naturally felt relieved. He turned his head, and looked in their direction, and found that there were many corpses of monsters on the ground. He was still frowning at first, but when he found that they were all small monsters, he realized something, and didn't say anything. "Brother Bai, are you okay?" Mondo felt the movement, and found that Bai Luo was already fine. He ran towards him with an excited face, and asked about this matter anxiously. When he thought of Bai Luo's appearance just now, he could feel his discomfort, especially the position of his eyes was still a little sensitive, so he was still very concerned. Bai Luo heard their voices, and observed that they were unharmed. He breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that these monsters were not their opponents. He just shook his head in their direction, and then quickly came to the side, to observe the people who were injured in the sudden storm. Bai Luo found that their wounds had been treated, and they had rested, so he simply didn't worry at all. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. What's going on? Exclamation mark. Just when they were planning to rest here for a while, Bai Luo felt an inexplicable feeling coming from the position of his eyes, and then disappeared. He didn't care too much about this matter, but suddenly realized a situation. Looking at the words transmitted from above, he became uneasy. Bai Luo thought about this matter secretly in his heart, and began to prove it with actions. After easing the pain in his eyes, he looked around. Sure enough, he confirmed his inner guess just now, but found that the perspective eye was much stronger, and even a big change had occurred in the previous time. Bai Luo kept a certain distance from the position next to them because of the surrounding gazes. After all, this matter has not been confirmed, so he didn't intend to say it. He didn't expect it to be like this. He thought it was just affected by the storm, and it would become like this after the exercise was finished, so he simply didn't say anything. Bai Luo frowned, as if he didn't know whether this matter was good or bad for him, and his mind began to become hesitant. The current perspective can last for an hour, which is much better than before, and it also makes him feel better. Brother Bai? Brother Bai? Bai Luo was completely lost in thought, and naturally did not respond to Mondo shouting. When he really reacted, it was too late. He did not expect to be so fascinated, and the expression on his face became a little unnatural. He looked in their direction with a puzzled look. Are we going to rest here? Mondo and Duo saw that the sky was getting dark, but Bai Luo seemed to have no intention of leaving, so he finally asked. Chapter 657, Enhanced Perspective. They had no way to decide on such matters, and could only use this method to make it clear, without realizing Bai Luo's emotions at the moment. Bai Luo didn't know what they were thinking, and suddenly realized that the sky was dark, and found that the storm had passed once, and had no intention of coming again, so he just nodded at them. Just now, he looked around, and didn't see any caves, so he could only make do here tonight, for once, and make other plans tomorrow. After Bai Luo made his decision, he heard the movement behind him calm down, and guessed that they might need to rest, so he didn't disturb them too much. Suddenly, only the three of them were awake, and because of Bai Luo's expression, Duo and Mondo didn't dare to ask questions actively. But they stared at him with burning eyes, and their little movements were quickly discovered, and finally they couldn't help asking questions. What do you want to ask? Mondo and Duo heard his voice, and they didn't dare to think about it at first, but now they suddenly felt like they were caught. They just nodded and started to wink at each other, as if they were still deciding who would speak on this matter. The atmosphere around them also became quiet. Just now I found out. Ah, really? What should we do now? Bai Luo observed their appearance and laughed helplessly. Naturally, he understood their feelings, so he just said what he was thinking directly. After he finished speaking, he heard their quick responses, but just shook his head and didn't say anything. After all, he didn't know in his heart. Bai Luo planned to try his changes, so he just looked around. He thought it was the same as before, just a change in time. He found a more shocking thing, that is, this perspective I can't see things on people, which made him a little confused. After Bai Luo realized this problem, his mind was a little dazed. No matter what, he didn't expect such a situation to occur. Just as he was studying this situation, he found that there were weeds on both sides, and thought that the direction of things became even stranger. Bai Luo's heart seemed to be affected by this matter, and he decided to take a good look here, without any intention of sleeping. He finally got such a skill, so he must want to study it clearly, so that he can make good use of it, but now he is still confused. Duo and Mondo observed the changes in Bai Luo's expression. They didn't understand this at all, and they didn't want to take the initiative to manage it. Bai Luo moved slowly around, observing the situation of the perspective eye at any time. When he found that it was indeed like this, his brows frowned even more tightly. Bai Luo frowned tightly, and couldn't figure out the reason for this situation. He couldn't help but guess in his heart, always thinking that it was related to the previous storm. But he changed his mind, and didn't care about it anymore. After all, things have passed, and now this situation is a foregone conclusion. Bai Luo didn't insist too much, but quickly came to the side, and looked at the people around him lying on the ground to rest. He found that what he saw were weeds, which didn't apply to people, but all this happened too strangely, so he still couldn't react. Bai Luo thought that the place they were in was a living area, and such a situation would never happen. He always felt that something was wrong. The reason why he didn't rush to find the answer just now was that he hadn't figured out the specifics of the matter. Now it seems to be the same as what he thought in his heart. After Bai Luo thought it over, he quickly came to them. Thinking of the new situation he just discovered, he felt that it was necessary to talk about this matter. Mondo, Duo are in this situation now. Is it the impact of the storm just now? Although Mondo and Duo2 didn't want to get involved in this matter, they were even more worried because Bai Luo was still here studying. They just guarded the position next to them, which allowed Bai Luo to calm down and think about this matter and also better protect others. Now Mondo and Duo2 heard him say this and saw the changes in his emotions just now and guessed that this matter would be difficult to handle. They thought that they had not experienced anything more serious before coming here, so they simply said what they thought in their hearts. Bai Luo looked at their reactions and this idea flashed in his mind, but he didn't think so in the end, and he was still uncertain now. He thought that, since there were some problems, he had to solve the matter quickly, otherwise it would be troublesome if he delayed any further. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. Brother Bai, I feel that the sudden storm just now is also problematic. Forget it, let's not think about it now, let's get down to work on solving what happened just now. When Duo2 was thinking, he realized that in such weather, such a situation would not occur, let alone coincidence. He hesitated for a while and decided to tell Bai Luo about his worries, hoping that it would help with what happened just now. Bai Luo listened to his voice and saw the serious expression on his face. His thoughts were similar to Th's, but this was not the most important thing now. He thought that he should solve the problem of the perspective eye first, otherwise he would have no use for this skill, so he simply responded. Bai Luo thought that, since he had found something wrong, he had to do this, otherwise he would regret it when it was gone, so he was still a little worried. Duo2 heard his response and knew that what he said just now was just his temporary thoughts. After listening to Bai Luo, he felt that it made sense. Thinking about what Bai Luo had just said, they took the initiative to move closer to him and asked him about their thoughts. Brother Bai, what are your plans next? I plan to. Duo2 and Mondo knew the urgency of the matter, and in order to share the burden with Bai Luo, they were ready to personally help him solve the current problem. They knew that Bai Luo had always been a man with ideas, so they were very relieved to let him think of a way to deal with this matter. As long as they listened to his instructions, they would do it. Bai Luo listened to their anxious voices and understood their thoughts, but he had never thought of letting the two of them go for such a matter. Chapter 658, Spectacular Waterball. He knew the importance of this matter, and now their safety could not be fully guaranteed, so he could only use other methods. Bai Luo continued to observe with his perspective eyes, and saw that due to the time limit, it was also starting to fall by a second, which made him anxious. He thought that he must control this time within a reasonable range, only in this way can they have this opportunity, otherwise it would not work. When Bai Luo was thinking about this, he suddenly saw something flashing in the distance. Because it was too fast, he could not see it clearly. His expression became solemn, knowing that this situation was not a good sign. After the previous storm, he guessed this. Bai Luo knew that he could not wait any longer, so he did not say too much about this matter. He found a person in the crowd, explained it clearly, and watched him leave. Brother Bai, is it really possible? Mondo and Duo2 knew about his plan, and now thought that they might only use this method, but they were still a little worried. After they finished talking, they became worried, and observing his expression, they knew that something bad had happened. Bai Luo listened to their voices, and he was not confident. After all, he didn't know the specific situation. If he hadn't been worried about what might happen here, he might have passed it long ago. But now they could only wait, and there was no other way, so he shook his head helplessly, and didn't say anything about it. When Bai Luo sent people to investigate and explore this matter, he had already thought about this matter. If there was news, it would be the best. If not, he would go and check it out in person. He thought that, since he was here, and he had this skill, maybe they were all helping him, so he secretly made up his mind to find out the results. Because of this situation, several of them began to wait anxiously. As time passed, their patience gradually disappeared, especially Bai Luo, who was anxious to begin with. At this time, his hands on both sides were tightly clenched into fists, and his heart gradually became irritable. He even observed and found that he had not waited for any news. The feeling of uneasiness had slowly arisen from his heart. If it doesn't work, I'll go and see it myself. Bai Luo watched the time pass quickly. In a short while, half an hour had passed, and the perspective eye was still usable. He thought of something, and started talking to himself. After Bai Luo made up his mind, the next time felt even more difficult. After all, if he could, he would just go there now instead of waiting here in pain. Thinking of this, he began to pace back and forth in the place where he was just now, as if only when he was in this matter could he feel a moment of peace. Duo and Mondo were also calculating the time, and found that the people who had just gone to investigate and explore had no news at all, so they began to worry. Originally, this matter should have been done by them, but the situation did not allow it, so they had to use another method, and found that it was not very smooth. Duo and Mondo were worried that other problems would arise, so they prepared to discuss this matter with Bai Luo, and as a result, they heard what he had just said to himself. They were reluctant in their hearts, and the words to stop them were already on their lips, but they felt that they could not say them, so they finally gave up on this matter. Brother Bai, how about we go and have a look? Duo and Mondo exchanged glances, because they were concerned about Bai Luo's location. The tacit understanding they had gained from spending so much time together was fully demonstrated at this moment. They tentatively expressed their thoughts. After all, if they went there now, they might be able to find other clues. Bai Luo listened to their voices, and was certainly reluctant. He roughly calculated the time, and became more certain of his guess. He had never thought that this would be the case, but he was already impatient. If he found that this was really the case, there was no need to wait any longer. It's too late now, I'll go. Bai Luo looked at the time, and said it directly. He frowned and walked quickly towards the place he had just been. Unexpectedly, he heard a sudden sound. Bang! Be careful. The two voices rang at the same time, filling his ears, making him squat subconsciously and look at the situation around him very vigilantly. Just now, Mondo and Duo could only speak out impatiently because of the loud noise, and then ran towards Bai Luo. However, after a while, they did not find any suspicious phenomenon, so they thought it was impossible. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR first published this novel. Bai Luo's heart became more confused. This sound could not have appeared out of thin air. According to his previous experience, he still had some experience. His ears were still a little unresponsive. The situation just now was too critical. When he looked with his eyes, he felt a hazy scene in front of him. Bai Luo realized something, and couldn't help shaking his head. Then he gently closed his eyes, and prepared to check after a while. Brother Bai, look. Mondo and Duo saw this situation, and said it directly. Their voices were very excited, and they looked at the sky intently. As soon as they finished speaking, Bai Luo raised his head and looked over. Suddenly he found that many water balls were floating in the air, which looked very dreamy. He had not expected such a situation. Since such a reaction had occurred, he was still somewhat shocked. He just watched. It's really spectacular. Duo and Mondo also noticed it. They had never seen such a big scene before, so they subconsciously said what they thought. They just looked at the water ball in the air, with these reflected in their pupils, and could only not make any other movements. After half an incense stick, Bai Luo also sensed a very strong spiritual energy. Then Bai Luo also determined the direction from which the spiritual energy came. He used his spiritual energy to feel the situation over there. Then he found that there was a place with abundant spiritual energy over there, which made sense for the situation just now. Bai Luo was still surprised that the spiritual energy over there was so strong. If it was really as he guessed, the spiritual energy over there was so abundant, that place would be a very good place for cultivation. After all, they really lacked a good place for cultivation. Chapter 659. Bai Luo's intuition. Now Bai Luo has already felt the abundant spiritual power over there. If he takes everyone there to practice now, they will definitely grow very fast. Thinking of this, Bai Luo also felt very excited. He quickly stood up and pointed in another direction. Everyone, be quiet first. I have already felt that there is a place with abundant spiritual power. It is a very suitable place for practice. I hope everyone can seize this opportunity. If you can practice in that place, you will definitely improve very quickly. No one said much. Bai Luo just felt that everyone had no objection and then called some people out from the crowd. He asked these people to go over there to check the situation. Although Bai Luo had already felt the abundant spiritual power over there, he was not sure if there would be any accidents over there. So Bai Luo thought he should be more cautious. You take a group of people to check the situation over there first. Remember to be careful and don't take it lightly. If there is any situation, come back and report it quickly. Remember to protect your own safety. After hearing Bai Luo's instructions, these people slowly approached that direction, but some people left directly before they took a few steps. But Bai Luo, who was watching from behind, also felt something strange and immediately ran forward. He stopped those who wanted to leave and asked in confusion, "What are you doing? If we really find this place, it will be a good thing for everyone's cultivation. Why do you want to leave at this time? This is completely unnecessary." The expressions on those people's faces were also very strange. After listening to Bai Luo's words, they just pursed their lips and didn't say anything for a long time. Bai Luo's expression was not good either, because he really didn't understand these people's behavior. After all, he did so much for them, and there was no danger in this matter. When the time comes, as long as they give that place to them for cultivation, their skills can also be greatly improved. But Bai Luo confronted them like this for a while, but these people didn't intend to speak. Then Bai Luo asked a few more questions, and these people just shook their heads. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo also felt very helpless in his heart. He originally thought that if there was anything, everyone could discuss and solve it. But seeing their current state, I guess they are unwilling to say anything. But if they didn't say anything, Bai Luo couldn't do anything to them, so Bai Luo just sighed in the end. Think about this matter carefully. If you have any ideas or dissatisfaction, you can come to me directly to talk. There is no need to hold it in your heart. Let's leave it at that. After saying this, Bai Luo didn't waste time with them here. After all, this matter was indeed a bit unpleasant. Bai Luo couldn't understand their approach at all, and they were unwilling to communicate with Bai Luo. Bai Luo was observing the situation around him, and then the old man's voice sounded in his mind again. "Bai Luo, remember to be careful. I just felt the breath of magic beasts around. And this breath is also very strange. I feel that things may not be so simple. You must be careful and don't take it lightly." After listening to the old man's words, Bai Luo couldn't help but frowned. After all, he had seen a lot of magic beasts during this period of time, and the frequency of these magic beasts was also very high. But Bai Luo didn't think that these magic beasts were not easy to deal with. These things were much easier to deal with than some people hiding in the dark. Bai Luo thought so anyway, so he didn't take the old man's words to heart. As long as the monsters dared to appear in front of him, Bai Luo would have a way to deal with them. So Bai Luo just smiled and continued, "What's there to be wary of with a monster? I will deal with as many as they come. And you have seen recently that those monsters are not my opponents at all, so there is no need to be so careful of them." When Bai Luo said this, he paused for a moment, thinking of the monsters bearing their fangs and claws. Bai Luo also found it funny, and continued, "I can finally see clearly now. Although those monsters look extremely powerful, their strength is just like that. They are just paper tigers, and there is no danger at all." The old man on the other side couldn't help but sigh after hearing Bai Luo's words. He naturally had some sense of propriety. Seeing that Bai Luo didn't take this matter to heart, the old man was a little helpless. But he was really worried about the safety of Bai Luo and the others, and then reminded them again. "You must not think like that. After all, you don't know how strong those monsters are. The strength of monsters is not proved by their size. You have to see how long they have practiced, and how strong their spiritual power is." Bai Luo nodded. Seeing that the old man was still worried, he didn't plan to say anything more. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR first published this novel. After all, he also knew that the old man said so much for their own good, but he did think that there was no need to be so nervous about this matter. so Bai Luo still perfunctorily said a few words. Okay, I know, I will be more careful next time. As soon as Bai Luo finished speaking, he heard a sound that quickly passed by his ears. After realizing this, Bai Luo immediately observed every move around him very carefully. Those sounds were not very loud, but Bai Luo heard them clearly. He thought he had heard it wrong before, but now those sounds came one after another. After observing for a while, Bai Luo could also confirm that these sounds were made by some people moving quickly, and judging from the sound, those people were moving very fast. Thinking of this, Bai Luo couldn't help but frowned. After all, it was impossible for ordinary people to move so fast. Even if he practiced some skills, he couldn't be as fast as them, but those people just now did it. Bai Luo frowned and looked in the direction where the sound came from. He wanted to see what those people were trying to do, but after a while, the sound suddenly stopped. But Bai Luo could also judge from the sound that the person stopped not far in front of them. Bai Luo stared at that direction. As long as that person made any wrong movements, Bai Luo would take the initiative to attack. Doto and Mondo on the other side naturally saw the situation here. They saw that the expression on Bai Luo's face was wrong, and then they immediately walked over. Chapter 660, Encountering a Monster. Mondo also looked in the direction Bai Luo was looking at, but there seemed to be nothing there. He felt a little confused, and then asked, Brother Bai, what's wrong with you? Is there any accident around here again? Bai Luo glanced at Duotu and Mondo on the side, and turned around. I just noticed that someone stopped there in front of us, but now that person has not made any movement, and I don't know what he will do next. When he said this, Bai Luo turned around, and looked at Mondo standing next to him. Now he had to pay attention to every move around him, so it was not easy to leave here directly. But the person over there just didn't make any movement, and Bai Luo didn't want to waste time with him here. Then Bai Luo said to Mondo on the side, Mondo, go over there and check the situation quickly to see what happened over there and come back to report when the time comes. Mondo couldn't help frowning after hearing Bai Luo's words. He looked in front of him, and his eyes were full of fear. He tried to move forward several times, but finally gave up. Mondo also felt that he was not doing well, but he was really scared. Bai Luo, who was standing by, did not say much after seeing this situation. After all, he did not want to force Mondo, but now he really needed help. If no one broke the deadlock, they would have to stay here forever. It was not worth it to do this, and Bai Luo did not intend to continue like this. Then he turned his attention to Duo2, who was standing by. After all, Duo2 had performed very well recently, and was much braver than Mondo. Duo2, then you can go in Mondo's place. Anyway, someone has to do this. Duo2 nodded and agreed after hearing Bai Luo's words. Then he did not hesitate and walked forward. His speed was quite fast, and he walked over there step by step. Soon he almost reached the place where the sound stopped, and Bai Luo called over there. Duo2, be careful, the man should be not far ahead of you. Duo2 slowed down his pace, and then slowly approached there. But before Duo2 could reach that place, a scream was heard in the air. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo did not intend to stay there any longer, and he hurried over there. After all, Bai Luo was not far away from that place, and he had been staying here just to protect everyone's safety. He had just come to Duo2's side, and then he saw a shadow. But he was soon shocked by the scene in front of him. This person actually looked like a beast with a human face. The head of the person was still very normal, and from the face alone, the person looked pretty. But the body, that should have been covered with human body, was actually covered with hair, and it looked no different from those monsters. After seeing this scene, Bai Luo could not help but clench the sword in his hand. After all, this situation looked really strange, and Bai Luo did not know how to deal with this thing in front of him. Some people around also ran over, and everyone could not help but panic after seeing this scene. Although Bai Luo was very suspicious of this person's motives, he was not as scared as those people around him. In fact, Bai Luo still didn't believe that such a thing existed in this world. There had been some supernatural legends circulating here before, which made people here panic. And now this kind of thing with a human face and a beast body appeared again. it is very likely that those people are manipulating everything behind the scenes. Could this be another trick of this? Thinking of this, the expression on Bai Luo's face became even uglier. Bai Luo was about to step forward because he hadn't seen this person move before, so Bai Luo wanted to step forward to check the situation. But before he took a few steps, the guy with a human face and a beast body rushed directly towards Bai Luo. It happened that Bai Luo was still cautious before, so he reacted quickly. He quickly turned sideways to avoid the attack of this person, but when Bai Luo looked in that direction, he was not as relaxed as before, because he found that this person's aggressiveness was so strong, and his attack power was not bad. A slightly larger pit was formed where he had just pounced. Sure enough, I underestimated the enemy. This person is not as easy to deal with as I thought. Read the error-free version at 69 bookbar. 6 equals 9 plus underscore. But before Bai Luo could think of anything, the guy rushed towards him again. Bai Luo tried to take out his weapon to hit the guy, but in the end he was beaten back step by step, and Bai Luo had no way to deal with him. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo felt very helpless. After all, before this matter started, he had never thought that this matter would be so tricky. When he thought of this, Bai Luo took a few steps back. But at this time, Bai Luo saw that the guy with a human face and a beast body suddenly grew a pair of wings on his back. Bai Luo was not sure whether the pair of wings had just grown or had always existed. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo felt that the whole thing was not as simple as he thought. This thing is not only difficult to deal with, but also seems to have many doubts. Now he can't deal with it, so after hesitating for a while, Bai Luo still shouted to the people around him. This thing is not easy to deal with, everyone quickly retreat. After seeing this situation, everyone couldn't help but panic. They thought Bai Luo could deal with this monster before, but they didn't expect Bai Luo to look very tired. So they knew there was a high possibility of danger, and they retreated step by step. But the monster didn't seem to have the intention to indulge them. They saw that they retreated a few steps, and the monster took a few steps forward. Moreover, during the chase, the monster kept talking about something, but Bai Luo couldn't understand a word. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo couldn't help cursing it in his heart. After all, this thing not only attacked him, but also kept saying these words to disturb him. Bai Luo was annoyed by it. He felt very annoyed, but he couldn't get rid of it, so he felt very helpless. Seeing that everyone around him retreated a lot, and this monster would not harm the personal safety of those other people, Bai Luo was not so worried. But now he had no way to deal with the monster in front of him. If he continued to waste time like this, it would become more and more difficult for him to deal with it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 661, The Elder's Reminder. His physical strength was constantly draining away, but the monster never seemed to get tired. After chasing him all the way, the monster still seemed to be full of energy. Since he couldn't deal with it with brute force now, he could only think of another way. Although the monster had a human face, it didn't seem to be very smart, so Bai Luo thought that the monster's IQ was not very high. At that time, they could use some formations to deal with the guy, and use the power of the formation to directly trap it. I guess the monster would have no other way. After confirming this idea, Bai Luo had his own motivation for every move he made, and he didn't fight the monster aimlessly like before. But now Bai Luo's physical strength was draining very quickly. After all, the speed of the monster was too fast, and Bai Luo sometimes couldn't react. Bai Luo looked at the multi-picture on the side, and then shouted directly over there, "Hurry up and prepare the formation. This thing is not that easy to deal with. We have to use the formation to trap it quickly, otherwise things will become more and more difficult." "Okay, I understand." Then everyone agreed. Half an hour later, Duo and the others were also ready. After all, the monster had been harassing Bai Luo and had no time to care about other people. The things around were ready, so Bai Luo quickly stopped. The monster was still attacking Bai Luo, but Bai Luo had no time to care about him. Then Bai Luo closed his eyes directly. He used his spiritual power to drive the formation. After his spiritual power was injected into the formation suddenly started to work and emitted a bright light. This is the purple light formation prepared by Bai Luo, which is particularly suitable for dealing with this kind of thing. As expected by Bai Luo, after the formation started to work, the monster was also restricted in its movements. He tried to escape from the formation several times, but in the end it didn't work. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. After all, this monster is not so easy to deal with. When I fought with it before, I found that the speed of this monster was too fast, and its physical strength was always very abundant. Bai Luo's physical strength is almost exhausted now, and it just so happens that I finally thought of using the formation to deal with this thing. Fortunately, I have restricted it now. As for how to deal with this monster later, Bai Luo also has to think about what to do next. Duo and Mondo, who were standing aside, ran over quickly. They helped Bai Luo prepare these things, while Bai Luo was fighting with the monster. Now that they saw that the monster had been caught, they were naturally very happy. Duo stepped forward and said, "This is great. We can subdue this thing. Otherwise it seems that this thing will not let us go easily." Bai Luo also nodded. After all, this monster with a human face and a beast body is indeed not easy to deal with. I couldn't escape, even if I wanted to. I wanted to leave here several times, but I was still caught up by it. It was impossible to communicate with him. Seeing the monster trapped inside, Bai Luo couldn't help shaking his head. At least now Bai Luo hasn't figured out what to do next. Although this monster does look a little scary, it still has a human face after all. Bai Luo couldn't kill him directly. Bai Luo frowned and thought about this matter, but he didn't expect that Mondo standing next to him took a few steps back. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo also looked over there with some confusion. Then he saw Mondo pointing in another direction with great fear and said to Bai Luo and the others, "Don't you see what it is? Why are there so many spiders suddenly appearing over there? They didn't appear just now." Bai Luo naturally saw the situation here, and he didn't know why so many spiders suddenly appeared here. Then Bai Luo didn't retreat, but took a few steps over there. After all, these spiders don't seem to be like the usual spiders. At least in terms of size, they have a lot of advantages. These spiders look bigger than ordinary spiders, and there were quite a lot of them. Bai Luo hesitated for a moment, and then used his inner strength to open his protective shield to study them. But before he could do anything, Bai Luo found that the guy opposite him suddenly disappeared. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo couldn't help but blink his eyes. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. After all, the guy just disappeared directly in front of him. He was still there before, but suddenly disappeared. Bai Luo also felt that it was very sudden, and then he quickly looked around and found that the guy was indeed not around. Duo and Mondo on the other side naturally noticed the situation here, and they looked over there in disbelief. Just when Bai Luo wanted to go over to check the situation over there, suddenly the old voice rang in his mind again. "The spiritual power fluctuations around here are very strong. Bai Luo, you'd better be careful. Don't act rashly, otherwise it will be very dangerous. The situation here has been a little strange since the beginning. I feel that there may be a conspiracy." After hearing the old man's words, Bai Luo's expression became even uglier. Although Bai Luo might have felt that the old man's worries were a little redundant before, everything that happened now did not seem that simple. So Bai Luo stopped directly, and the thought of investigating just now disappeared. He hesitated for a while, and finally made his own decision. Although he really wanted to know what happened, he had to be responsible for everyone's safety, and Bai Luo didn't want to risk his life. The situation here is not right. Let's leave here quickly. Everyone follow me. After saying this, Bai Luo wanted to take Mondo and the others away from here. But before he took a few steps, the old man's voice rang again. "What are you doing? Are you going back like this? Bai Luo was a little confused. He thought that the old man said so much to him, just to let him leave here quickly. After all, he just said that this place is very dangerous. Wasn't it just to let them leave quickly? What do you mean, senior? Didn't you say there might be a conspiracy? So of course I have to take everyone away quickly. Then the old man sighed and prepared to explain to them. Chapter 662. Extraordinary people. That's exactly what I meant, but I don't want you to leave like this. Although this matter is very strange, I also think it's a bit unbelievable, and there is a high possibility of danger. But I have just noticed that there is a treasure 100 miles east of the manor. It would be a pity to leave now. There is actually a treasure nearby. Bai Luo also felt very novel. If it is really as the senior said, then Bai Luo will naturally not leave so easily. After all, encountering a treasure is something that can only be encountered by chance, and Bai Luo is not sure if he will have such a good opportunity in the future. After leaving like this, in the end, Bai Luo decided to go find the treasure, so he quickly stopped. Then he told everyone the good news. Everyone stop first. I have just received news. There is a treasure 100 miles east of your manor, and that place is not far from us. I think we can try to see if we can find some treasure back. After hearing what Bai Luo said, Mondo and the others were naturally very excited. Since Bai Luo has said so, there is a high probability that there is a guarantee nearby. After all, Bai Luo's news has always been very reliable. Everyone was very interested in this news. Mondo walked to Bai Luo and asked curiously, "Brother Bai, are we going to the east of the manor to look for treasure?" Bai Luo nodded. He really wanted to go there and take a look. If he gave up such a good opportunity this time, Bai Luo felt it was a pity. Since we already know there is a treasure over there, we can indeed go there to take a look. But it is undeniable that it must be very dangerous over there. After all, we have encountered a lot of troubles from the beginning, and it is possible that it will be even more difficult over there. Duo 2 didn't care so much. After all, they have come here now, and they have encountered a lot of problems. But fortunately, they have been solved later. At this time, Duo 2 stood up and said, "Since we want to get the treasure, it is naturally not so easy to get it. We must pay a little price. I think we can take the risk and try it. If we really get the treasure, then this trip is not a loss after all." Bai Luo smiled, and then no one said anything more. Although everyone was still a little worried about their own safety, they were finally moved by the treasure. Then Bai Luo said to everyone, "Then this matter is decided. Let's go over there to see what's going on and see what's there." Then a group of them set off. At first, everything was normal and they didn't encounter any other troubles on the road. So they moved very quickly, but soon things were beyond their control. Because the weather here suddenly turned bad, the whole sky was dark, and there were lightning and thunder from time to time. Just when they were still complaining about this bad weather, they suddenly found that there was a sandstorm in front of them. Although the sandstorm was not very serious, it seriously affected the direction of their journey. The flying sand in the air blocked their sight, and the road ahead was not very clear. They were moving forward with a clear goal in front, but soon Bai Luo found that their route seemed to be wrong. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo quickly stopped his steps. He waved his hand behind him, signaling everyone to stop first. "Everyone, stop where you are. We seem to have gone in the wrong direction. But don't worry. Let me see where we should go next." Just after Bai Luo finally identified the direction, he led everyone for a while. But unexpectedly, a fog suddenly arose, and Bai Luo and his friends lost their way in an instant. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo felt very helpless. He didn't expect the situation here to be so bad. This was also unexpected for Bai Luo. But now they have come here, and it is impossible to give up halfway. They have completely lost their way. Even if they want to go back the same way, they can't find the way back. But now Bai Luo can only bite the bullet and walk forward. He doesn't know where he is now, and he doesn't know where to go next. Mondo and the others are also very worried, but no one says much. After all, they have no way out of the current predicament. Everyone is very silent, but they are still walking forward. Soon, Bai Luo, who was walking in the front, suddenly stopped. He looked at the figure in front of him, and then slowly put his hand on his sword. He also didn't expect that someone would suddenly appear in front of them, and that person was floating directly in the air. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. Bai Luo hurriedly stopped, and Mondo and the others behind him naturally saw the situation here. He didn't expect to see such a situation at all, so he couldn't help but take a breath. Judging from the figure alone, the person should be a man, wearing very colorful clothes. But this person just floated in the air, which did look a bit scary. After all, their current situation was already very bad, and they didn't expect to meet such a person here. But no one said much, just looked at him very vigilantly. Bai Luo felt that this situation was very strange. After all, this scene looked too weird. Could it be that they were dazzled? Or was it an illusion? Bai Luo couldn't help thinking so. He felt that this matter was indeed a bit unreasonable, but soon Bai Luo denied his idea. Because the figure of the man looked too real, it didn't look fake at all. The man seemed to have seen them as well. Bai Luo didn't know if it was his illusion, but he found that the man seemed to smile at him. Bai Luo frowned. He didn't think the smile was very friendly. On the contrary, he felt it was particularly weird. But it was not easy for Bai Luo to take action directly now. He didn't know what would happen next, so he could only wait and see. But then the man saw that Bai Luo ignored him, and then he slowly raised his hand. The man waved to Bai Luo, motioning for Bai Luo to go over. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo couldn't help but be stunned. He also hesitated, not knowing whether he should go over. The timing of the man's appearance was indeed unexpected to Bai Luo, but after so long, the man didn't do anything excessive. Chapter 663, The Old Man's Request. Now they are in trouble. Could this person help them get out of here? Thinking of this, Bai Luo took a step forward, and then wanted to go over there to check the situation. Seeing this, Duo on the side pulled Bai Luo. He was a little worried about Bai Luo's safety. Brother Bai, isn't it too dangerous to go over there like this? I always feel that this matter is not so simple, and he doesn't seem to be so easy to deal with. Bai Luo couldn't help but sigh. He knew that this matter was indeed dangerous. But now there is no other way. If they want to leave here quickly, they must find important clues quickly. And that person just stopped in front of them. If they don't solve the current problem, it will be difficult for them to leave here. So Bai Luo still wants to take a gamble. He wants to see whether the man in front of him is an enemy or a friend. Then Bai Luo looked at Mondo and Duo on the side and asked them, "You two should wait here with everyone. Remember to be careful. I will go to the front to check the situation and see what that person wants to do." After saying this, Bai Luo walked directly in that direction. His steps were very fast. After all, he had already decided on this matter. Anyway, the final result would be the same. Bai Luo walked in front of the man, but he couldn't help but examine him. He stopped in the air and smiled at Bai Luo when he saw Bai Luo coming. This person didn't look that dangerous, but his behavior was really weird. Bai Luo raised his eyebrows and took the initiative to say, "I don't know why you are here. Is there anything you want to tell us?" His words were very tactful, but he really wanted to know who this person was. What was the purpose of stopping them here? After hearing Bai Luo's words, the man floated in the air for a few more times and spoke slowly. "I'm the guardian of this place. I sensed someone here just now, and I also know that you have encountered a lot of troubles. You must be lost now. I didn't intend to take care of this matter before, but later I saw that I had a connection with you, so I thought of taking you out of here." Bai Luo frowned. He looked at the man in front of him. Although Bai Luo also felt that he should not have any ill intentions. But Bai Luo subconsciously chose to refuse, because in his impression, the old man had said such words to him before. He and the old man have been together for a while. At least from now on, the old man has no intention of harming him. He looked at the man in front of him, and then directly refused. "I won't bother you with this matter. We are indeed in a lot of trouble now, but I believe we will be able to get out of this predicament soon. So we can solve this matter ourselves, and we don't need your help." Bai Luo couldn't see the expression on the man's face clearly, but he didn't get angry after hearing Bai Luo's refusal. Then his voice came again. "I'm here to help you. because we are destined to be together. You need to think this through. If I show up, I can definitely take you out of this place. You've lost your way now. If you're trapped inside, you'll soon starve to death, because you're out of ammunition and food. So you better think about it. Bai Luo hesitated, but in the end, his reason told him that he couldn't take it lightly. He couldn't let his emotions get the better of him. After all, it was too risky to do so. He couldn't joke with other people's lives. If he took the risk and chose to trust the man in front of him, and if he was tricked by him, then it wouldn't be worth it. Bai Luo said, "We'll solve this matter ourselves, so there's no need for you to say anything more." "I won't agree." The man didn't seem to insist anymore. After hearing what Bai Luo said, he just sighed and disappeared in front of Bai Luo. In a place where Bai Luo couldn't see, the man didn't choose to leave immediately, but stayed beside Bai Luo to protect him secretly. Just when Bai Luo finally dealt with this man, the old man suddenly appeared in front of him. Bai Luo did not expect the old man to suddenly appear. After all, he had disappeared for a while, but sometimes he would communicate with him in his mind through voice. Before Bai Luo could speak, the old man said directly, "Bai Luo, you really did not disappoint me. You have arrived at this place now, and you must be not far away from the treasure. I disappeared during this period of time, only because my spiritual power has been exhausted, and there is no way to support me to continue to move here. I need you to infuse some spiritual power into me." After listening to the old man's words, Bai Luo was still a little hesitant. Although the old man did help him a lot, this matter was not that simple. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus BOOK_BAR published this novel for the first time. Bai Luo has not yet reached the point where he can trust him wholeheartedly, so Bai Luo directly thought about this matter in his heart. But in the end, Bai Luo nodded and agreed. Although he did have some doubts in his heart, it seems that he has no choice but to do so now. I have just rejected the help of that person. If even the old man can't help them, they will be trapped here forever. Okay, then it's decided. After saying this, Bai Luo took Mondo and Duo 2 to infuse spiritual power into the old man. Bai Luo's attention was very focused. Just when they were transmitting spiritual power to the old man, the system suddenly dinged. But Bai Luo didn't care much about this matter. After all, he didn't know what the system wanted to do. Every time he imagined that he asked about something, the system would just play dead. So Bai Luo knew that, even if he asked for any key clues, the system would not tell him. After a while, the old man also felt that the spiritual power in his body was very abundant. He looked at his hands with some excitement, and then laughed. "After receiving the spiritual power transmitted by you, I feel that my body is indeed much better. Looking at the things around me, I feel a lot clearer." Bai Luo on the side also nodded, and then directly expressed his thoughts. "It would be great if you could recover like this, senior. I wonder if you could point us in a direction. We are lost here, and don't know which way to go next." The old man was in a very good mood, and agreed without any hesitation. Chapter 664, Emergency. "Leave this matter to me. This kind of thing is not a difficult task for me now." After the old man said this, he closed his eyes. Bai Luo also felt a strong fluctuation of spiritual power at this time. He looked at the old man in front of him with some curiosity, and felt more curious about the old man's identity. But he did not choose to ask at this time, because he knew that he would know this matter in the future. After the old man opened his eyes, he pointed directly to the southwest. "The exit is here. Just keep walking in this direction and you can get out of the fog directly." Bai Luo nodded. Since the senior has said so now, Bai Luo has nothing to hesitate. After listening to the old man's words, he led everyone to walk in this direction. Because the goal this time was very clear and there were no accidents along the way, their speed of action was very fast. In the end, Bai Luo finally led everyone out of the fog together. After seeing this situation, everyone was really happy and couldn't help cheering. After that, everyone continued on their way, but they stopped walking. Bai Luo, who was walking in front, also had a puzzled expression on his face. After all, the situation in front was fine, but for some reason, many black stones suddenly appeared on the ground in the back, and the number was quite large. Bai Luo did not notice the situation here during the period, but because the change was too big later, it was difficult for him not to pay attention. Then Bai Luo squatted down directly, picked up a black stone, and observed it carefully in his hand. He weighed the stone in his hand, and touched its texture with his hand. Then he found that the black stone was actually made of black iron. Bai Luo put the black stone back. He looked at the situation here very puzzled. After all, there were quite a few black stones here, and Bai Luo did not know what these things were used for. It just seemed that it was not that simple. Mondo on the side was also a little puzzled. He looked at Bai Luo on the side and continued. Brother Bai, what are these black stones? Look, there are all these black stones here. Bai Luo frowned, and then shook his head helplessly. I'm not very clear about this. Now I only know that these black stones should be made of black iron. But as for how to deal with these things, I don't know either. After all, these things appeared too suddenly, and I didn't expect so many stones to appear here suddenly. Several people stared at each other, and for a moment they didn't know what to do next. In the end, Bai Luo still felt that this matter was not so simple, and then don't think about taking these things back. He looked at Duoto and Mondo on the side, and then spoke. Since we don't know the origin of these black stones now, let's take them back directly. We can also study them carefully at that time, to see what these things are used for. Everyone had no objection, because they didn't have any other ideas. Seeing that no one disagreed, Bai Luo directly led everyone to collect these black stones. But before Bai Luo and his friends started, the old man suddenly appeared next to them again. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo also felt a little confused. After all, he didn't expect the old man to appear again at this time. Before Bai Luo asked, the old man said to them directly, "These stones are not as simple as you think. Put them down quickly. It's useless for you to take these things back. Hurry up and gather these stones, and arrange them in the shape of a 5-pointed star." Everyone stopped what they were doing, but they didn't put down the stones in their hands. They just looked at each other, not knowing what to do for a while. Bai Luo was a little confused. After all, the old man didn't explain much to him. If he just said it directly, Bai Luo didn't know whether he should do it. After all, there was no explanation, and Bai Luo couldn't believe it. Why is this? These black stones are made of black iron. I think these things are very likely not that simple, so I thought about taking them back to study. What is the purpose of spreading them on the ground and arranging them in the shape of a 5-pointed star? I wonder if you can give me some advice. The old man sighed and didn't seem to want to explain. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus underscore. He shook his head and said, "You will know this later. Anyway, you just need to do what I say now. I will never harm you. I do this only for your good. As for the reason, I can't tell you now." Bai Luo's expression did not look very good. After all, the old man's words made Bai Luo feel confused. He did not explain it clearly to him, and now he directly ordered them to do these things. Bai Luo hesitated for a moment. He just looked at the old man in front of him with some suspicion. The old man seemed to have guessed Bai Luo's mood, then sighed and said, "I really can't tell you about this now, but I can responsibly say that this matter will definitely not do you any harm. Anyway, you just need to do what I say." Bai Luo didn't think about it anymore. After all, he and the old man had been together for a while. It was indeed as the old man said. Many times, the things the old man asked him to do were indeed incomprehensible to him, but in the end they were indeed helping him. Then Bai Luo nodded and said to everyone, "In that case, let's do as the senior said. Collect these black stones quickly and lay them on the ground in the shape of a 5-pointed star." They worked together very quickly and soon completed the task. Bai Luo just stopped what he was doing and then heard a sound coming over. In fact, he had heard these sounds when he and they were laying these stones just now, but Bai Luo looked around and saw that the people around him didn't seem to react, so Bai Luo didn't take the next step. But now the sound is getting louder and louder, but Bai Luo can't hear clearly what they are saying over there. This feeling makes Bai Luo a little disgusted, but he doesn't know how to curb this feeling. But at this moment, Bai Luo suddenly felt a spiritual power flowing out of his body. Bai Luo quickly blocked his acupuncture points, and then the feeling just now seemed to be a little better. Chapter 665. Blue Halo. But this is not a long-term solution. Then Bai Luo took out some pills from his pocket and swallowed them, but it seemed to have no effect. After realizing that something was wrong, the expression on Bai Luo's face became more complicated. Bai Luo knew that he couldn't act rashly now. After all, his current condition looked very bad. He didn't know what would happen later. Then Bai Luo squatted down and meditated. He had to practice for a while to see what happened to his body. After all, the loss of spiritual power is not a good thing. If it is not handled properly, it will be very tricky. But just after Bai Luo closed his eyes for a while, suddenly there were several screams around. The sound came very suddenly, and it was obvious that no one reacted. But now they only heard the creepy scream, but did not find the direction of the sound. After seeing this situation, everyone naturally gathered in the middle. After all, everyone knew that this situation did not look as simple as they imagined. Everyone was very alert, and Bai Luo stopped his actions at this time. Although his physical condition was not good, Bai Luo had no time to care about his physical condition after hearing the screams here. After all, the current situation looked very bad, and the screams appeared inexplicably. Bai Luo hurriedly looked around, but it was almost the same as before. He only heard those screams, but did not see anyone nearby. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo became more vigilant. Could it be that the man used his spiritual power to hide his whereabouts? Thinking of this, Bai Luo closed his eyes directly. He began to use his spiritual sense to feel the situation around him to see if there was any spiritual power fluctuation around him. But what surprised Bai Luo was that, even if he used his spiritual sense to explore the situation around him, he did not see anything. This was really strange. Bai Luo had no other way. Although he was very anxious, now all the methods had been used, and he had no ability to pull out the person hiding in the dark for a while. He looked at the people around him, because the current situation was really unexpected, and he didn't know if anyone around him knew anything. Did you find anything wrong around here just now? Did you see any suspicious people? Everyone shook their heads in unison, and the expressions on their faces seemed to be a little scared. Bai Luo no longer pinned his hopes on them, and then he couldn't help but sigh. But at this time Bai Luo found something wrong. He didn't find Mondo and Dotu in the crowd. They were clearly here just now. How come they suddenly disappeared? Bai Luo looked at the crowd in disbelief, and then scanned it with his eyes. But in the end, it was the same result. Where did these two people go? Mondo? Dotu? Bai Luo tried to shout their names to the people around him, but in the end, he still didn't get any response. The expressions on the faces of the people around him were also very serious, but no one said much, because they also saw the situation here. Bai Luo was still worried about their safety. After all, things were happening one by one, and Bai Luo also knew that many things were beyond his expectations. First, the spiritual power in his body was lost inexplicably, and then there were some terrifying screams around. Now Mondo and Dotu have disappeared inexplicably, so it is difficult for Bai Luo not to think about this matter together with the previous few things. Is there any connection between these things? But now Bai Luo can only guess. As for what the result will be, Bai Luo is not sure. Just when Bai Luo was about to set out to find Mondo and Dotu, another situation suddenly appeared here. He hadn't taken a few steps when he found that a blue halo appeared not far ahead. The blue halo was very bright and superimposed layer by layer. The blue halo appeared not far ahead of them, and with the obvious color, it seemed particularly bright from their side. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo couldn't help but stop where he was. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR is the first to publish this novel. Because it looked like the situation over there was obviously not simple, Bai Luo couldn't help but frowned. He was thinking about the reason for this situation. But no matter what the reason was, Bai Luo knew that such a situation was not simple. So he didn't dare to act rashly. He could only observe the movements over there first. The situation over there was really strange. Many people here looked over there. What Bai Luo didn't expect was that suddenly some people on their side walked directly over there. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo hurried forward and grabbed the man. "What are you doing? It's very dangerous over there. We don't even know what the situation is over there now. If you go over there like this, you may die." Bai Luo was very anxious to explain to him why he couldn't go over there, but the man seemed to be very persistent. No matter how much Bai Luo said, there was no hesitation on his face. Then he shook off Bai Luo's hand and walked over there at a very fast speed. Bai Luo looked at his back as he left and wanted to catch up immediately but was powerless. And this situation is not an isolated case. I saw more and more people around walking over there uncontrollably. Bai Luo also tried to stop them, but in the end he returned in vain. He was very anxious, but there was no other way. Then he thought of the old man on the other side. Maybe this teacher could help him? Thinking of this, Bai Luo said directly, "Senior, are these people stimulated by something? Why are they all walking over there uncontrollably all of a sudden? Is there something wrong with the blue light?" Then the old man's voice rang again, and his voice was not hurried or slow, not much different from usual. Compared with Bai Luo's panic, the old man seemed to have anticipated the situation here. "You don't need to worry about the things here. Anyway, you have already advised them just now. Since they don't listen to you, there is no other way. Let them do whatever they want. This is their own business." The tone was very cold, and Bai Luo couldn't help but frowned after hearing it. Although this is indeed the truth, it is obvious that the current situation does not seem right. These people may have been bewitched by something and walked over there regardless of anything. Chapter 666 True and False Guardians. After all, these people have been following him for a while, and Bai Luo couldn't just stand by and watch them die. "How could I just stand by and watch? If I don't go out and stop them now, those people's lives will be in danger. I came to ask you, Senior, just to ask you to give me some advice, to see what's wrong with these people. If you don't want to help, then forget it." After saying this, Bai Luo walked forward. Since the old man was unwilling to help him now, Bai Luo didn't put his hopes on him. But Bai Luo was still a little disappointed. After all, the old man had really helped him a lot recently. He originally thought that the old man would help him this time, but he didn't expect him to say such a thing. In addition to being disappointed, Bai Luo didn't plan to waste more time here, because more and more people were walking over there in an uncontrollable state. He could only hurry up to catch up, but after a few steps, Bai Luo heard the old man's voice again. "What are you doing? Didn't I tell you not to go? Since those people want to die, you don't need to wade into this muddy water." These words had no power to persuade Bai Luo, so Bai Luo ignored the old man and continued to walk forward. After seeing this situation, the old man became even more angry. "You are really abominable. My body will be resurrected soon. I hope you better understand things. Otherwise, I can't guarantee what will happen later. After all, you are not my opponent here. I hope you can think it through." After hearing the old man's words, Bai Luo couldn't help but stop. It's not that Bai Luo was afraid of the old man's threat, but after hearing the old man's words, Bai Luo couldn't help but start to think about many things. He recalled the situation when he just met the old man, and then thought about what happened in the past few days. No matter how Bai Luo thought about it, he felt that this matter was particularly strange. After all, the timing of the old man's appearance was too sudden. Although he did help him solve a lot of troubles later, these also made Bai Luo give the old man some trust. But judging from what the old man said just now, Bai Luo felt that he had to take a good look at the man in front of him. He was indeed not as simple as he thought. Bai Luo frowned, and the hand holding the sword kept rubbing his palm. Who is he? Suddenly, the guardian floating in the air appeared in Bai Luo's memory. Could this old man be related to the person floating in the air at that time? Because both of them pretended to be guardians, according to the current situation, Bai Luo felt that his idea was very well founded. But at this time, he didn't know what to do next. After all, the situation seemed to be getting worse and worse, and he didn't know what level the real strength of this old man was. but now it seems that he will not get any benefit by going against him. So after thinking about his situation, Bai Luo finally made his own decision. Since this person wants to stop him from running over now, he will follow his wishes first. If he openly refuses him now, he doesn't know if this person will take action directly. Anyway, now that he has seen his true face clearly, many things have gradually surfaced, and Bai Luo's mind is becoming clearer and clearer. So this matter is not so urgent. As long as he is well prepared later, he can escape from here first. According to what the old man said just now, it won't be long before he can rebuild his body, and his strength should be almost restored. In the end, Bai Luo nodded, as if he had accepted his fate. He didn't say much, but just expressed his attitude. Okay, then since you don't let me go, I won't go. I also believe that you should not harm me. After all, you have helped me a lot. After hearing Bai Luo's words, the old man's voice did not continue to sound. The old man nodded. His eyes kept looking at Bai Luo, but his hands seemed to have no next move. Bai Luo didn't get confused first. He wanted to see what the old man was thinking. After all, he wasted a lot of time on his side, and it seemed that he didn't help him at all. I didn't expect that this person had planned it from the beginning. Bai Luo couldn't help but shudder, and his eyes secretly looked at the man in front of him. He subconsciously used his spiritual sense to observe the old man, and then he found that the black gas next to the old man's body was rising to the sky. This is a body of hostility. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR first published this novel. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo couldn't help but stand there in a daze. After all, he rarely saw someone with such a serious hostility. The expression on Bai Luo's face was even uglier. He really couldn't make up his mind how to deal with the man in front of him. It seems that now he has no choice but to find a way to leave here first. Now this old man seems to be really hard to mess with. But after waiting for a long time, he didn't find a chance to leave, because he really doubted the identity of this person. So Bai Luo directly asked the system. System, what is the situation of this old man? Why is the hostility in him so serious? Do you know the origin of this person? Bai Luo asked so many questions in one breath, but he didn't hear the voice of the system. Now the system was very silent. Just when Bai Luo couldn't help but want to complain, he heard a ding sound from the system. Why is it this sound again? He heard this sound last time. Could it be that the system was also affected? After realizing this, Bai Luo didn't dare to stay here any longer, because he knew that this situation was far more dangerous than he thought. Many people had already run towards the blue light. Bai Luo wanted to save them, but the old man blocked his way. Now it seems that he can't even protect his own safety, so Bai Luo has no time to care about their situation. However, they still have some people here. As for Mondo and O2, Bai Luo doesn't know where they are now. Bai Luo saw a few confidants left by his side, and then waved to them directly, turned sideways and said to them directly, "The situation is very wrong now. Let's leave here secretly. Remember to be careful." After saying this, Bai Luo took them away secretly. However, to Bai Luo's surprise, the old man did not chase after him directly, so there were no accidents when they left. Chapter 667, True and False Guardians, Part 2. But Bai Luo hadn't taken a few steps when he found that the spiritual power in his body was very wrong. It wasn't so serious just now, but now he found that his spiritual power was running rampant in his body after just a few steps. Bai Luo couldn't control the spiritual power in his body at all. After encountering such a situation again, Bai Luo didn't dare to act rashly. He always felt that this matter might be related to the fake old man. Although he couldn't be sure of the identity of the old hand just now, Bai Luo almost thought of some possibilities. It's just that these ideas have not been confirmed now, but Bai Luo also felt that it was almost certain. Maybe he was deceived from the beginning. But at that time, he didn't take this matter to heart, thinking that the man had given up long ago. But he didn't expect that he was the one who was calculated in the end. Thinking of this, Bai Luo's expression became even uglier. Just when Bai Luo was about to continue to rush forward, the old man's voice rang again. The old man who was behind them just now suddenly appeared in front of them again, and the smile on his face became very scary. He grinned and laughed directly, which looked really gloomy. Bai Luo, don't even think about running away. Since you are already in my hands today, I would be sorry to let you go like this. So just accept your death. Don't even think about running away today. Bai Luo didn't plan to continue running, because he knew that running away would not solve the problem now. The old man in front of him didn't take them seriously at all, and seemed to have known the result very well. Bai Luo could also see that he was very confident. Even if he ran now, he couldn't escape, so Bai Luo just stood there. He looked at the man in front of him with contempt, and felt that this man was really hateful. He chose to believe him. When he met the person floating in the air in the desert, Bai Luo chose to believe the old man without thinking. At that time, they both called themselves guardians, but because the old man had helped him in the past, Bai Luo didn't doubt the old man. But now it seems that his previous thoughts were really ridiculous. It turned out that the old man had planned it from the beginning. This old man is not a guardian at all, he has always been a fake. Thinking of this, Bai Luo did not intend to hide it anymore. He looked at the man in front of him very angrily, and then he tore his face directly. You, a fake, are really good at hiding. You deceived us from the beginning, and now you are not pretending. The old man laughed directly after hearing Bai Luo's words, and the smile on his face was even more playful. Bai Luo could not find any guilt on the old man's face. On the contrary, Bai Luo felt that the old man was very proud. You have figured it out now, and it seems that you are not so stupid. But now the time is too late. Since we have come to this point today, I will send you off this time. After saying this, the old man raised his hand directly, and then Bai Luo felt a very strong spiritual power fluctuation. He knew that this man was going to take action, and Bai Luo also drew his weapon directly. Just when he was about to use his spiritual power, he found that his spiritual power loss was indeed very serious. He felt it when he was using his spiritual power, but there was no other way. After all, the situation had developed to this point, and he could only bite the bullet and fight. When the old man rushed towards Bai Luo did not hesitate to take the sword to meet him. But in the end, Bai Luo was directly repelled by a powerful spiritual power. He couldn't help but touch his chest that was a little painful from the shock, and then he exhaled a few times. Now he was no match for the man at all. But the old man had no intention of letting Bai Luo go, and then he rushed directly towards Bai Luo. After seeing this situation, some of the confidants around rushed to protect Bai Luo. But even Bai Luo was not the opponent of this old man. How could they beat this man? Sure enough, these people were directly repelled by the old man with a wave of his hand, and then the old man walked in front of those people step by step. He just waved his hand, and then his confidants let out a very fierce scream. Bai Luo stared at everything in front of him in amazement. The old man actually absorbed the spiritual power of his confidant directly. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book bar published this novel for the first time. All of his confidants suddenly fainted on the ground, and the old man waved his hand and threw them all away. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo's eyes were full of anger. But in this situation, he had no power to fight back at all. But the old man didn't seem to plan to let them go until now, so he knew that he couldn't continue like this. Then Bai Luo used his lost spiritual power to form a protective shield to protect his confidants. But the old man didn't seem to take it seriously, and his expression looked relaxed. Bai Luo knew that these things of his couldn't deal with him at all, and it was only a matter of time before this protective shield was broken. But what should he do now? Now he was the only one who could fight here, but now his spiritual power was so severely lost, so he was no match for him at all. Was he just going to wait for death like this? Then Bai Luo thought of the man who called himself the Guardian that he met in the sandstorm. He recalled the conversation between him, and then Bai Luo closed his eyes. Bai Luo remembered that man said that he was the Guardian here. He could help him get out of here. Although his attitude was not good at that time, Bai Luo still wanted to try. I know you are around here. It was indeed too abrupt at that time. I hope you can forgive me. I will be very grateful if you can help us this time. When Bai Luo slowly opened his eyes, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. Bai Luo actually had some luck just now, because he could not think of any other way, so he could only try this method. But he did not expect that the Guardian really appeared like this. After seeing his figure, Bai Luo was also very excited. Then Bai Luo stood up directly. He looked at the Guardian in front of him, and then saluted him. "Senior, I'm so sorry. I was deceived by the bad guys at that time, so I thought your identity as the Guardian was fake. I really didn't recognize the real talent. I hope you can help me this time." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 668, The Great God Takes Action. Haha. The next moment, the real Guardian smiled, and the expression on his face looked very kind. Just like the expression when Bai Luo first saw him, he didn't seem to take this matter to heart. After hearing Bai Luo's words, he just smiled and waved his hand, and then turned around to look at the demonized old man. "Don't worry about this matter. I will naturally not bother you for such a small matter. And I have already said that I'm the guardian of this place. So protecting this place is my mission. Even if you don't come to me today, I will stand up." When he said this, the Guardian paused and looked at the old man with a very stern look. "This man is doing evil here, so I will naturally not let him go. Don't worry, leave this man to me." After hearing the words of the Guardian, Bai Luo couldn't help but feel relieved. Since the Guardian has said so, it should not be a difficult problem to deal with this old man. After all, this old man is just a fake. I don't know what means he used to recover to this point. I think the Guardian can deal with him directly. Bai Luo was naturally very happy. He couldn't help but look at the old man next to him. He saw that the hostility around the old man's body was getting worse and worse. When Bai Luo looked over there with his spiritual sense, he found that the old man's whole body was shrouded by black air. This situation looked really terrifying. When he saw the Guardian appear, the expression on his face couldn't help but be dazed for a moment. Obviously, he didn't expect the Guardian to suddenly appear here. I don't know why, but the old man suddenly became very angry. The surrounding spiritual power also gathered on my side. Bai Luo could feel the terrifying spiritual power vortex on the old man. Bai Luo didn't expect that the old man would suddenly go berserk, and this situation looked really bad. Even if Bai Luo had confidence in the Guardian, he couldn't help but step back a few steps. After all, this old man's state seemed to be destroying the world. Perhaps now is not the best time to take action. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo walked directly to the side of the Guardian. He looked at the Guardian beside him with some hesitation, and then expressed his thoughts. "Senior, why don't we leave here first? I think this man doesn't seem to be so easy to deal with. Now his condition is out of control, and the spiritual power in his body seems to be particularly strong. Let's leave here first, and think of another way to deal with him later." The Guardian just shook his head after hearing Bai Luo's words, and then kept looking at the old man in front of him. He slowly said, "Don't worry, this man's strength can't deal with me. He is just a spent force, and he can't do anything big. Anyway, leave the things here to me. You just need to protect your own safety." The Guardian's tone was very relaxed. Even if Bai Luo was worried about the situation here just now, there was no reason to say anything more. So Bai Luo nodded, and then couldn't help but give a word of advice. "Then senior, you should be careful." The Guardian stood still and did not move. He then kept looking at the old man not far from him. However, the old man could not help it. He used his spiritual power to gather a very strong airflow in his hand. He looked forward very confidently and then threw the power in his hand directly to the Guardian. Some trees around were directly shaken away by this powerful spiritual power, and Bai Luo also felt the very strong spiritual power around him. But now the Guardian seemed to have no signs of taking action. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo could not help but sweat for the Guardian. At this time, a dragon roar suddenly came from the front. The Guardian chose to take action at this time. The guardian waved his right hand, and then a strong fire came directly to meet it. The fire looked very bright, and Bai Luo could not help but close his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, he found that a huge silver dragon suddenly appeared in the sky. Bai Luo could not help but be stunned by the scene in front of him, and forgot to think about anything for a while. The guardian jumped lightly, and then stood directly on the silver dragon. Seeing this scene, Bai Luo said unconsciously, "This." The guardian on the other side seemed to notice the expression on Bai Luo's face, then smiled, and then said, "This is just my mount. You don't have to worry, this silver dragon will not hurt anyone." Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus BOOK_BAR first published this novel. After saying this, the guardian no longer cared about Bai Luo's situation, and then directly turned his eyes to the old man not far away. The old man on the side was obviously panicked after seeing this situation. He didn't expect that his best move was directly blocked by the guardian. He didn't expect that the gap between his strength and the guardian was so big. Before, he thought he could fight with him, but he didn't expect that he couldn't beat him after all his efforts. Thinking of this, the old man became even more angry. Then he attacked the guardian directly again, but after the help of the silver dragon, the guardian's movements became faster, and there was no need for the guardian to do it himself. The dragon just slapped the old man away with a light slap. After several rounds of fighting, the guardian didn't want to continue to waste time with the old man. The guardian waved his hand and knocked the old man to the ground. The old man couldn't stand up after being hit on the ground, but the look he gave the guardian was still very sharp. Bai Luo was watching the situation here. He was not moved when he saw the old man become like this today. At this time, the old man turned his attention to Bai Luo. The result was very obvious now. The old man had lost, and lost very thoroughly. He looked at Bai Luo fiercely, and then shouted at Bai Luo, "Why do you treat me like this? I have helped you a lot along the way. Why do you treat me like this?" After hearing what the old man said, Bai Luo also felt very incredible. He didn't understand why the old man could still say such words at this time. After all, the old man had deceived him from the beginning. Just 2 hours ago, I still trusted him very much. But how did that old man deal with me? Chapter 669 successfully solved. He had planned everything from the beginning, and he was just his pawn. Now he is using all means to achieve his goal. Hasn't he harmed many people? Then Bai Luo walked directly to the old man, squatted down and stared at the old man in front of him, and then slowly said, "Isn't all this your own fault? I told you that people like you don't deserve to live in this world. I trusted you so much, but I didn't expect that you have been using me all the time. You killed my brother, and I can't help but avenge you." After saying this, Bai Luo didn't want to continue talking nonsense with this man. He directly used his spiritual power to give the old man the last blow and send him to his last journey. It can be regarded as revenge for his confidence. After the old man died, Bai Luo also felt that the spiritual power in his body had recovered a lot. After half a cup of tea, Bai Luo finally couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He had just solved the old man with his own hands, and now his biggest threat has been eliminated. But Bai Luo couldn't leave here immediately. Although the old man was dead now, his confidants had all their spiritual power absorbed by him, and were now unconscious on the ground. After his confidants slowly woke up, Bai Luo stood up directly. After all, they still had to continue to act. They could only be truly safe after they completely left here. Bai Luo wasted some time here, but the guardian god beside him did not leave. Bai Luo did not go up to ask the reason before. In fact, Bai Luo himself also guessed some reasons in his heart. It is possible that the guardian god has always been around him. After he directly rejected him at that time, he should not have left. Otherwise, he would not have appeared here directly when he called him. However, this is just Bai Luo's guess, and there is no need for him to go forward to support his guess, because he is now certain that the guardian god in front of him is indeed his friend. If the guardian god had not stood up in front of him, it is possible that he would have been calculated by the old man by now. Thinking of this, Bai Luo sighed subconsciously. Sometimes I underestimated the enemy. The old man had revealed so many clues, but I didn't think much about it in the end. At that time, I was still looking for excuses for the old man, and I didn't even investigate in that direction in the end. The reason was actually quite simple. I just thought that the old man would not cause any trouble. But I didn't expect that I and my men were almost destroyed by the old man. After collecting his thoughts, Bai Luo walked directly to the side of the guardian. After all, he was trapped here all the time. They had been walking here for a few days. But Bai Luo has not found the real way out yet. Since this guardian is the god who guards this place, he should know more about this place than I do. Senior, do you know if there is a way out here? We have been looking for a way out these days, but in the end we have achieved little success. I wonder if you can give me some advice. The expression on the guardian's face did not change at all. He just looked at the front calmly. After a while, the guardian said, "There is no real way out of here. You can definitely leave here if you want to find it later. I can't say much else, but I can tell you that the place we are in now is very dangerous. This place is very dangerous in the whole area." After hearing the guardian's words, Bai Luo couldn't help but frown. Since it was already very dangerous here, Bai Luo thought about leaving here quickly and finding a place to rest. Then we have to leave here quickly, otherwise no one can predict the situation later. But Bai Luo hadn't taken a few steps when he was stopped by the guardian beside him. "Don't be so anxious. Although it is indeed very dangerous here, it is really not advisable to act rashly now. Later, there may be some monsters or other creatures appearing here. I advise you to stay where you are and not move. Everything will be discussed at night." After hearing the guardian's words, Bai Luo looked puzzled. He didn't understand why he did this. Since it was confirmed that there would be danger here, why didn't they leave here quickly? This is totally illogical. Bai Luo has already opened his mouth. Why is this? If there is danger here, we should leave immediately. Why do we have to wait until night? Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. The guardian just shook his head, and it seemed that he didn't want to explain to Bai Luo. "You don't need to ask the reason for this matter anymore. You will know it yourself when the time comes. Anyway, the safest thing to do now is to stay where you are and don't move. As for what to do later, I will also tell you. You don't need to worry about this at all." Although Bai Luo still had many doubts in his heart that were not solved, but since the guardian had said so, Bai Luo didn't dare to ask any more questions. After all, he knew the ability of the guardian, and he also knew that the guardian would not harm them. Bai Luo kept his mouth shut very consciously. Since the guardian had already told them to stay where they were and not leave, he just had to stay here honestly. He turned around and looked at his confidants. Anyway, they haven't fully recovered yet, so they can take advantage of this time to recuperate. Bai Luo walked over and continued to speak to them. "We will rest here today. Don't leave here. If there is any special situation, you can tell me directly. There were indeed some accidents just now. Now everyone's body has not recovered. Let's take care of it here. It won't be long before we start to act again." Everyone nodded after hearing Bai Luo's words, and no one expressed any objection. Everyone sat down one after another, and most of them were meditating on the ground. After all, the old man was a big harm to people. Suddenly he took a fancy to the spiritual power in everyone's body. This action really made his confidants miserable. Thinking of this, Bai Luo couldn't help but clench his fists. He also slowly warned himself in his heart that he must be careful in the future. Don't be so careless again and hurt the people around you for no reason. Bai Luo found a place to sit down casually. He didn't have anything else to do now. Since he couldn't leave here now, Bai Luo could only sit here and rest. But it was still early and Bai Luo couldn't sleep. Chapter 670 Gradually comfortable. Now he just sat here and watched the surroundings. Since the guardian had said that there was a high possibility that other monsters or creatures would appear later, it meant that they would be in danger here at any time. But at this moment, some of his confidants suddenly looked at the sky and exclaimed. Bai Luo was also attracted by the situation over there and finally saw countless meteors across the sky. This scene was really spectacular. Bai Luo couldn't help holding his breath when he looked over. He didn't expect such a situation to appear at this place and at this time. Maybe the meteors can really bring them some good luck. Bai Luo also hoped so, and hoped that no other accidents would happen later. Then a warm current began to flow in his body, and Bai Luo subconsciously looked at his hands. He suddenly felt the fluctuation of his spiritual power, and this feeling was a very comfortable feeling. Bai Luo was also very strange, and then he found that his spiritual power had indeed recovered a lot. At that time, he didn't know why the spiritual power suddenly dissipated. At that time, the situation was urgent, and Bai Luo didn't bother to investigate the reason. Now that he thought about it, he felt that this matter was indeed very strange. After all, it was impossible for the spiritual power in his body to dissipate for no reason. Thinking of this, Bai Luo looked at his hands with some doubt, and then sat on the ground to meditate. But Bai Luo did not find out what was wrong with his body, but now his body has indeed recovered a lot. When Bai Luo slowly opened his eyes, he found that the guardian was standing next to him. Seeing that the guardian was looking at him, Bai Luo frowned in confusion. "Senior, what are you doing?" The guardian waved his hand and then spoke. "I saw that something was wrong with your situation, so I came to see what happened. But don't worry, I also forgot to tell you something before. After all, there are many things to be solved before. I believe you have also found that the spiritual power in your body has suddenly dissipated a lot for no reason. In fact, there is a reason for this." Bai Luo looked at the guardian in front of him with some shock. He didn't expect that the guardian even knew this. But there is nothing to be shocked about. After all, Bai Luo is very clear about the ability of the guardian, so it should not be difficult to know this. Then the guardian continued, "In fact, the reason why you have so many problems is that someone secretly set up a kind of induction. This induction will cause the spiritual power in your body to shift. And this induction was set by the old man at that time. He secretly set this induction on you when he was around you, so there are so many things later." After hearing the words of the guardian, Bai Luo couldn't help but widen his eyes. He didn't expect that this matter was actually related to the old man. Before, Bai Luo thought that there was something wrong with his body. It turned out that all this was calculated. Thinking of this, Bai Luo was also very angry. This old man really did a lot of bad things. He might have calculated everything from the beginning. The loss of his spiritual power later was just the last way for him to achieve his goal. But since the old man is dead, why hasn't the induction in my body disappeared? Logically speaking, everything should dissipate after he dies. The guardian nodded. In fact, this reason is not wrong. But the induction that the old man set up in Bai Luo's body is too deep. How could it disappear directly like this? Although Bai Luo's physical condition did recover a lot after the old man died, it was not enough to completely eradicate it. This induction is not so easy to eliminate. It will take some time to completely eliminate it. But it is not a difficult thing. I will help you in this process and will definitely help you eliminate this induction directly later. You should continue to feel the spiritual power in your body slowly recovering, so you don't need to worry. Bai Luo nodded. After all, it was just as the guardian said. His body did recover a lot, and he also clearly felt that his age was slowly recovering. Since the guardian said so, there should be no big problems in the future. Thank you so much, senior. You have really helped us a lot during this period. If it weren't for your help, I don't know what the situation would be like now. The guardian just waved his hand gently. He obviously didn't take this matter to heart. This is just my duty. You should take a good rest here. After all, this induction will also cause a kind of trauma to the body, so you still have to be careful. If you want to fully recover, it will still take some effort. Bai Luo nodded. He naturally understood this truth. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR first published this novel. After the guardian left, Bai Luo asked everyone to stay here to rest. Although the guardian had told him that there might be danger here at any time, Bai Luo had not found anything wrong so far. However, Bai Luo was always paying attention to the changes here. During this period, although those monsters and other creatures did not attack them, but Bai Luo found that Mondo and Duo secretly returned during this period. the two of them secretly returned to the middle of the team. Although the two of them should not know what happened during this period, but Bai Luo secretly observed their actions and found that they seemed to be deliberately hiding their whereabouts. Even after they came back, they did not come to tell him something, so Bai Luo knew that Mondo and Duo too must be hiding something from him. But now these two people didn't plan to say more to him, so Bai Luo didn't take the initiative to ask. Since they didn't plan to tell him the reason for leaving here, just pretend that it didn't happen. Then Bai Luo just accompanied them in acting. Anyway, Bai Luo still believed in Mondo and Duo too very much. Although there were some things they didn't tell him, Bai Luo knew that these two people would not hurt him. Now it seems that their identities are not simple. In fact, Bai Luo had a vague feeling from the beginning, but now he is more certain. Along the way, he naturally saw the shining points of these two people because their progress was really too fast. Chapter 671, Abundant Spiritual Power. Thinking of this, Bai Luo couldn't help but smile. He secretly made up his mind. Since Mondo and Duo too had special identities, and he was very hardworking, so Bai Luo decided to train them well in the future and teach them some more skills. I believe they will achieve something in the future. Just when Bai Luo was still thinking about how to train Mondo and Duo too in the future, he suddenly heard a few sounds of his stomach growling. Finally, Bai Luo immediately looked up and found that his confidant was looking at him very embarrassedly. Bai Luo smiled and waved his hand. After all, this was also human nature. They had been running around here for so many days and had not eaten anything. Such a situation happened again later. It was indeed Bai Luo's negligence. He didn't think so much. Everyone followed him through life and death, and now he was leaving them hungry. Bai Luo smiled and then stood up immediately. Since everyone was hungry, he also had the obligation to help everyone find food quickly. But there was no stock here now. Bai Luo hesitated for a moment and then thought of some wild beasts nearby. So Bai Luo had his mind set on them. If they caught and ate those wild animals, they would be able to fill their stomachs. Bai Luo said to everyone should have rested for a while, and everyone should be very hungry. There are many wild animals around here, so let's act quickly and catch some wild animals for dinner. Everyone nodded after hearing Bai Luo's words. After all, they were also very hungry. Then a group of people planned to go around to find some wild animals, but before they could act, the guardian on the other side came over. He stopped everyone because he had heard the conversation between Bai Luo and the others when he was nearby. Then he came over and said to Bai Luo, "You don't need to go around to find any wild animals, and I also said before that you must not act rashly here because I'm not sure whether you will encounter any danger here. I can provide you with food here, which is not a difficult task for me at all." After listening to the guardian's words, Bai Luo realized that he was indeed a little impulsive. Although he had not encountered any danger here so far, since the guardian had told him that there was a high possibility that other magical beasts would appear here, he must not take it lightly. Since the guardian had said so, Bai Luo naturally had no intention of refusing. It would be great if he could provide food for everyone, and there was no need for Bai Luo and his friends to take risks to find wild beasts. Then Bai Luo nodded and thanked the guardian in front of him. "Thank you so much, senior. Since you have said so, we will obey your orders." The guardian smiled and then waved his hand, and a pile of food appeared in front of them. Everyone quickly shared the food, and the amount of food distributed to them by the guardian was quite a lot. After they were full, Bai Luo even left some for them. After all, Bai Luo didn't know how long they would stay here, so food was still very important to them. Not only Bai Luo, but everyone expressed their gratitude to the guardian. However, the guardian kept shaking his head lightly, as if he didn't take this matter to heart. He also felt that it was just a piece of cake. Later, Bai Luo and the others continued to rest in the same place. When he was free, Bai Luo meditated directly in the same place. Half an hour later, Bai Luo found that his meridians had changed. This change was not very obvious, but when Bai Luo was circulating his spiritual power, he found that the spiritual power flowed very smoothly. After discovering this change, Bai Luo was naturally very happy. But he tried to find the reason, but in the end there was no result. He didn't know why his body suddenly found that it had improved, but in the end Bai Luo didn't dwell on this matter. After all, this was a good thing. Bai Luo was resting here, and then Mondo and Duota suddenly walked towards him. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. After all, Duota and Mondo hadn't come to see him since they came back. Bai Luo knew that the identities of these two people must be not simple, but they didn't mean to tell him, so Bai Luo didn't ask. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR published this novel for the first time. When Mondo and Duota came to find him at this time, Bai Luo naturally put these two things together. Could they be here to talk to him about this? Bai Luo thought so. Seeing the two people coming over, Mondo looked at Bai Luo in front of him with some hesitation, and then smiled again. Brother Bai, Duota and I came here this time to tell you good news. Bai Luo nodded, and then looked at the two people in front of him with some curiosity. Mondo continued, Duota and I have made progress in our cultivation during this period, and it feels like a big improvement. We don't know why there has been such progress all of a sudden. It feels like my cultivation has been going smoothly recently. I always felt that I had encountered a bottleneck before, but I don't have this feeling recently. After hearing Mondo's words, Bai Luo was naturally happy for Mondo and Duo too. After all, improving cultivation is a good thing. He also knew before that Mondo and Duo did encounter some bottlenecks in their cultivation, which everyone will encounter. But he didn't expect the two to break through so quickly. Bai Luo also laughed happily and patted the two on the shoulders. That's great. Since your cultivation is improving so fast now, you must practice diligently while you are here. Mondo was about to say something, but the guardian beside him came over unexpectedly. He seemed to have heard the conversation between the few people, and then he looked at Mondo and Duota beside him with satisfaction. It is indeed very normal to improve your cultivation by practicing here. After all, the spiritual power here is very abundant, and the benefits to cultivation are really great. You can practice here for a long time, and I believe that the progress you will get in the future will be more than just a little bit. After hearing the words of the guardian, Bai Luo remembered that the spiritual power here is so abundant. After all, from the beginning, he came here in junior high school just because the spiritual power here is abundant, but too many things happened later, and Bai Luo had forgotten about this matter. The guardian looked at Bai Luo beside him and then spoke. Because the spiritual energy here is very abundant, some spiritual fruits grow in this area. After eating these spiritual fruits, your cultivation will be greatly improved. I don't have these spiritual fruits with me now, but I can give some to you later, which will be of great benefit to your cultivation. Chapter 672. Many benefits. At the same time, Bai Luo was also very shocked. He didn't expect that there were so many good things here. Then Bai Luo thanked the guardian again. After all, the guardian really helped them a lot. Mondo and Duota on the other side were also very happy. If the guardian really said that, then they can continue to practice now, and their cultivation will definitely be greatly improved. Bai Luo continued to stay in the same place to meditate. He now probably guessed why the spiritual power in his body suddenly recovered a lot. This should obviously be related to this place. It's just that he was injured before, so his feeling is not so sensitive. Now when I think about it, my spiritual power recovered so quickly. It should be because the spiritual power here is abundant. But about 2 hours later, another situation appeared on their side. Even when Bai Luo was meditating, he felt a very strong wind, and this wind seemed to have no intention of stopping. Then Bai Luo slowly opened his eyes. As expected, when he opened his eyes, he found that the scene of youth was indeed very shocking. At this time, the sky was completely dark, and the whole sky was like a black curtain, accompanied by lightning and thunder. Seeing this scene, Bai Luo also felt very familiar. After all, this was not the first time they encountered such bad weather here. It was also this weather that caused them to get lost here, so a series of problems occurred later. Then there were several thunders in the sky. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo also felt that the situation this time was more serious than the last time. Since the situation here was not easy to deal with, Bai Luo then planned to leave here directly. If he continued to stay here, he didn't know what would happen later. Bai Luo didn't have the energy to deal with those things now. Bai Luo hesitated for a moment, then stood up and said to everyone, "The situation here is very wrong. Let's leave here quickly and find a safe place to stay." After hearing Bai Luo's words, everyone was about to leave, and then the guardian stood up directly. He looked at Bai Luo in front of him, and then pointed to the sky again. "Bai Luo, although the current situation is indeed very difficult to face, and I can also tell you very clearly that the troubles encountered during this period are indeed difficult to solve. But all of this is my test for you. I did it on purpose. I hope you can challenge yourself and see what level you are at." After listening to the guardian's words, Bai Luo was silent for a while. It turned out that all of this was arranged by the guardian long ago. Then should I accept the test? Finally, Bai Luo thought it through and nodded. "Senior, I have thought about this matter clearly. Let's accept the test." After hearing Bai Luo's words, the guardian obviously looked very relieved. He smiled and nodded, and then said, "It's great that you can think this way. My original intention is not to embarrass you, but I hope you can improve yourself in this process. If you can withstand the test, it must be a good thing for you." Bai Luo nodded. He naturally knew that this guardian would not harm him, but this was just his own determination. Then Bai Luo turned around and looked at everyone behind him. He could now make up his mind to accept the test, but he couldn't make the decision for everyone. "I think everyone has heard the conversation between me and the senior just now. This test depends on your own wishes. If you want to participate, you can stay. If you don't want to participate, you can find a place to hide first. But I still hope that everyone can face it together. After all, this is a good thing for us." At first, Bai Luo thought that some people would back off, but he didn't expect everyone's eyes to be very determined. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo also smiled and nodded. Then it couldn't be better. In this case, let's accept the test together. The weather here was very bad, and the strong wind chased their faces recklessly. Sometimes they were about to lose their footing here, but in the end everyone persevered. Bai Luo continued to stay in place and meditate. Although the situation here was indeed not very good, Bai Luo knew that he must persevere. After 2 hours, Bai Luo was still practicing very hard here. Read the error-free version at 69 Shuba. 6 = 9 plus SHU_BA released this novel for the first time. At this time, he really understood the good intentions of the guardian, because in this situation, his spirit and consciousness were highly concentrated, so the effect of cultivation was quite good. At this time, the voice of the system suddenly rang in his mind. "You are really lucky. You were deceived by the old man, but you didn't expect to meet the real guardian of the earth in the end. But when he appeared, you didn't choose to believe him, but fortunately, the guardian of the earth was willing to help you later. Otherwise I don't know how you died." After listening to the words of the system, Bai Luo felt very angry. It turned out that the system knew everything from the beginning, but it didn't say a word when he was deceived by the old man. Thinking of this, Bai Luo became even more angry. "You are so ashamed to say that. So at the beginning, you chose to watch the show from the side, right? Watching me being deceived so badly by the old man, you chose not to say a word in the end, just watching me getting deeper and deeper." The system also defended itself. "This is the rule of this world. I can't tell you everything. But didn't I hint to you at that time? The ding sound I made was a hint to you. If I hadn't made this sound later, you probably wouldn't have thought this through at that time." Bai Luo recalled the situation at that time and found that it was indeed the case. But at the beginning, how could Bai Luo think of this? He originally thought that the system was trying to do something wrong again. "Then your hint is indeed quite obscure, but I don't want to argue with you. It just so happens that it was the senior who saved us in the end. Otherwise I would not be able to stay here safely now." The system said, "So I said you are lucky. I have some elixirs here. These elixirs can help you improve your cultivation. As long as you take them, they will definitely work." Then those things appeared directly in Bai Luo's hands. Looking at these elixirs in his hands, Bai Luo was also very surprised. Chapter 673 Gift. Then Bai Luo couldn't help laughing again, and then he directly teased the system. Do you think that giving me these elixirs rashly will violate the rules of your world? I won't help you if you are punished later. But you have a conscience. After so long, you are finally willing to give me some benefits. Otherwise I really won't do it. The system did not directly answer Bai Luo's question. It just continued to talk to Bai Luo. You should practice here well. The practice place here is really very good and will definitely be very helpful to you. You can also leave here quickly when the time comes. After all, the situation at the inn is not optimistic. There are a lot of evil spirits approaching there, so we have to hurry back. After listening to the system's words, Bai Luo was really worried. After all, many things have happened here recently, so he has no time to take care of the situation at the inn. Now that he thinks about it, he really has to hurry up. He has to leave here quickly, otherwise when those evil spirits really occupy the inn, the situation will be really difficult. Thinking of this, Bai Luo couldn't help but grit his teeth. Don't worry about that. We will definitely practice well here. We will be able to leave here soon, but the time is not right now. We may stay here for a few days. When we go back, I will definitely clean up those evil spirits. Let's see if they dare to do evil here again in the future. Then the system's voice did not sound again, and Bai Luo did not ask too much. After all, the system had said everything it should say, and it just happened that the system brought him news from the inn. So now his purpose was very clear. As long as they can practice well here, they can quickly return to the inn when they leave here. Although those evil spirits are indeed very hateful and difficult to deal with, but as long as his ability is improved, it should not be a problem to deal with those things. He must kill those guys as soon as possible. Then Bai Luo continued to practice in the same place. The weather conditions here were still as bad as ever. However, the effect of this training is really good. Bai Luo found that his spiritual power has almost recovered. Then Bai Luo slowly put down his hands and then looked at the situation around him. At this time, Bai Luo found that there was suddenly a layer of protective shield around their group of people. This protective shield was different from the one formed by Bai Luo. This one looked more obvious, like a defensive wall. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo was also very surprised, and then he shifted his sight to the guardian beside him. Later, he found that the defensive wall was built by the guardian for them, and then Bai Luo hurried over. He walked to the side of the guardian, and then he only saw the wall here. Senior, what are you doing? Is something going to happen here? The guardian nodded. He looked at Bai Luo beside him, and said, because it's almost night. I told you before, as long as it's night, there will be more monsters here. The monsters here are not better than the monsters outside. After all, the spiritual power here is very abundant, so the monsters are also very aggressive. If you don't take some protective measures, you may be attacked at night. These defensive walls can help you resist attacks from the outside world. When he said this, the guardian paused for a moment, and then continued. Although I have built a protective shield for you now, you still have to be careful, because I don't know what will happen next. You have been trapped here for a while. If nothing happens after 3 days, you can leave directly. After the guardian said this, his figure slowly disappeared in the air. Bai Luo watched the guardian disappear just like that, and then looked around in disbelief. After all, the guardian left too suddenly, and there was no time to react at that time. Because Bai Luo still had many things to find out clearly, he did not expect the guardian to disappear directly like this. He looked around in disbelief, and then called out to the guardian. But the guardian did not appear again, and Bai Luo finally accepted this reality. He still regretted it in his heart, because he still had many things to ask the guardian, and he was also very uncertain. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo was also a little helpless, but he could only accept this reality. He looked at some people around him, and said to them, the senior has disappeared, but he set up a barrier to protect us before he left. This is indeed a very good place for cultivation. Everyone should hurry up and cultivate well, but everyone should be careful during the cultivation process and pay attention to protecting their own safety. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. Everyone nodded and then went to cultivate. Just when Bai Luo was about to return to the original place to cultivate, he found that there were suddenly more weapons on the ground. Bai Luo saw a long sword, and then Bai Luo walked over and picked up the sword. There were quite a lot of weapons on the ground. After seeing this situation, some other people came forward to watch. He didn't believe that these good things would appear on the ground for no reason. Presumably, these things should also be left for them by the Guardian. It really hurt the good intentions of the Guardian. Thinking of this, Bai Luo was even more grateful to the Guardian. After all, during this period of time, the Guardian really helped them a lot. But he hadn't thanked him properly yet. Perhaps he realized something. Bai Luo took the sword in his hand and bowed directly to the other side, speaking confidently. "Thank you for your help, senior." After seeing Bai Luo's actions, everyone also bowed to the Guardian. Although Bai Luo didn't know whether the Guardian was still around, he still had to express his gratitude. At least from now on, this Earth Guardian is indeed a very good god. When thinking of this, Bai Luo smiled at the sky unconsciously. Then Bai Luo distributed the weapons on the ground to everyone. Bai Luo looked at the weapons on the ground and found that these weapons were indeed not ordinary things. After he distributed the weapons, everyone tried to use the weapons in their hands. The result was also very unexpected, because they all found that these weapons were indeed very handy. Chapter 674, Outstanding Ability. Many people had never used weapons before, but they soon learned how to use them very well. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo said to everyone directly, "These weapons are the self-defense items left by the seniors, so everyone must make good use of them. During this period, there is a high possibility of encountering other dangers, so everyone must be extremely careful and never disappoint the seniors' expectations of us." After saying these words, Bai Luo continued to lead everyone to meditate. The following things went quite smoothly. Although the Guardian had told them to be extra careful before, no accidents happened that night, and they spent the night very safely. The next morning, because the Guardian had arranged everything last night, Bai Luo did not find anything else, and the whole person was very relaxed. When Bai Luo woke up in the morning, his face was full of energy. He thought about it and felt that he had never slept so well before, and he still missed it. He simply moved his body, not knowing when such a good day would come again, as if the Guardian had reduced a lot of troubles. Bai Luo thought about these things and slowly got up from the bed. He didn't move quickly, but thought about what he had to do today. While he was thinking, he suddenly thought of something. He subconsciously looked at the place where he was yesterday and found that the constructed wall was gone. How could it disappear? Bai Luo didn't believe it, because the Guardian God had specifically told him to do so, so he took it seriously. Besides, they had seen it when they were constructing the city yesterday. He looked at the wall and it had disappeared. It had only been one night, so he couldn't help but ask himself with a serious look. Bai Luo was responded by the quiet atmosphere around him. In the end, he just shook his head helplessly and quickly came to the wall to observe it closely. For such an inexplicable disappearance, he felt that it was very magical, and he didn't have any other thoughts. He just planned to figure it out quickly. Bai Luo came to the wall and thought about what the Guardian God said to them yesterday. He couldn't help but reach out and touch it, and found that it was really gone. He didn't stay for too long. After all, things had become what they were like now, which meant that the environment they were in was still safe. The walls were originally built to defend against wild beasts. Now that there are no such beasts around, they naturally disappear. Besides, with the Guardian God, he feels relieved. After Bai Luo figured it out, he observed the sky outside. The rare big sun hanging in the sky made him feel more cheerful. He thought that, now that everything was settled, he could take advantage of this good weather to walk around and maybe find out something else. Bai Luo was a man with strong mobility. As soon as he had an idea in his mind, he was already dressed and ready to go out for a walk. He was very quick. He was ready to take a look with a happy mood, but he found that things were not as simple as he thought, so he began to observe. How could this be? It's really clear. Bai Luo had already thought about this matter, but who knew that he saw a barrier like a barrier distributed in front of him as soon as he came out. he was still a little unresponsive. After all, it was a bit complicated, but the approximate location was still relatively clear, so he could only stop. Bai Luo looked at the place where they were now, which happened to be in a relatively central position, and the surrounding area had been divided into several boundaries. At first, he still didn't understand it, and began to express it involuntarily. Later, after he understood it, he knew it was the work of the Guardian. Bai Luo knew that the Guardian was thoughtful and was doing this to protect them. In his heart, he understood such behavior, but it was hard for him. He originally wanted to walk around, but now his personal freedom seemed to be bound, and it was a little hard to accept. Bai Luo scratched his head helplessly, a little at a loss, and began to pace back and forth in the place just now, and began to struggle with this matter in his heart. Thinking of this, he was ready to try to go out and take a look. After all, this boundary was also a very simple thing for him, and he didn't take it to heart. After Bai Luo had such an idea in his heart, it took root and sprouted, and he couldn't control his behavior, but in the end he still controlled it. He knew that he couldn't break this boundary directly for his own idea, otherwise the Guardian would do this in vain. Bai Luo also thought that he and the Guardian had met before, and it would be even worse to be the one who openly stood up like this, and it would also affect their relationship. While he was still struggling with this, the other people in the cultivation room had no idea what was happening outside. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. They were all practicing hard and didn't dare to make any mistakes, for fear that it would have no significant impact on their cultivation. At this time, when everyone was practicing, they heard a sudden cheer from the crowd, causing everyone around to stop and observe the situation. Did you feel it? Our cultivation has made a breakthrough. The person who spoke at first did not attract people's attention, but with what he said later, these people began to explode and tried. The atmosphere around them became quiet, but the smiles on their mouths were still rising, as if they had never thought that their cultivation could have a major breakthrough. Let's go and tell Brother Bai about this. After their attempts, they found that it was indeed the case, so they simply looked at each other and excitedly expressed their thoughts. After they finished speaking, they got unanimous agreement. After all, such a good thing was something they couldn't wait to finish. When Bai Luo was about to go to the boundary to take a look, he saw the figures of the crowd running towards him and thought something had happened. Before he had time to ask, he saw that their expressions were all excited, and he couldn't help but prepare to ask about the details. Brother Bai, our cultivation has all broken through. Yes, Brother Bai, to be honest, we ordinary people also feel that our abilities are outstanding. Before Bai Luo had time to say anything, he heard the bustling sound coming from the surroundings, which made people a little confused. Chapter 675, supported again. However, he soon got used to it. He believed what they said and was happy. After all, it was a good thing. Bai Luo smiled in their direction, then looked at the people around him, couldn't help but patted their shoulders, and said earnestly, "This is a good thing, I'm happy for you." After he finished speaking, he began to think. He never thought that such a thing would happen, but now that it has happened, he still feels the same as them. Bai Luo quickly forgot about the boundary just now, and prepared to continue to watch their practice, fearing that they would slack off after they achieved results. Bai Luo thought that he had nothing to do now, so instead of looking at the boundaries here and getting annoyed, he might as well find something to kill time. He looked at the very good weather, and didn't want to waste such good weather, so he just watched them practice, so that if something happened, it could be solved in time. Bai Luo felt their gaze, and subconsciously looked in their direction, and found that they were still happy as before. He thought of something, and said something to remind them. You should meditate well, and don't give up all your efforts. He expressed his thoughts. After all, he had practiced before, and could feel the benefits of this. He was afraid that their state of mind would change. Bai Luo's purpose was also very simple. He had to strike while the iron was hot, while he had achieved something now. Otherwise, if something suddenly happened, he would not be able to continue. After he finished speaking, he saw that their expressions became serious, nodded heavily in his direction, and then began to meditate. Bai Luo observed their appearance and nodded with satisfaction. He was very relieved that at least they had listened to what he said just now. In this way, everyone believed in Bai Luo very much, so they began to resume their usual seriousness and meditated obediently. Bai Luo looked at this scene and suddenly became refreshed. He strolled leisurely and wanted to observe the situation around him. He thought that, if it continued like this, it would not take too long for their cultivation to reach a high level, and then it would be useful. Just when Bai Luo was watching them meditate with great interest, he heard a cautious voice outside, which made him frown. He guessed that something might happen, otherwise they would not have found this place, so he quickly walked out from where he was just now. After Bai Luo came out, he saw Erzu standing in the front, which made him a little unresponsive, and he stood there without any intention to move forward. "What are you doing? Brother Bai, we are here for good things." He suddenly had a bad premonition in his heart, especially when he saw the people behind Erzu. He guessed that it was something that was forced. Bai Luo originally didn't want to pay attention, but now he was here. There was no other place to go, so he naturally found this place. He asked carefully, and then looked at them with a puzzled look, and found that everyone was looking at him with a smile. Bai Luo didn't think that their eyes were good, but rather that they were premeditated. Otherwise they would not come here in such a big way. After he finished speaking, he saw Erzu and the people behind him coming to him. Hearing the good things they said, he became even more frightened. What Bai Luo couldn't stand was what they said, which made him feel that Erzu had a purpose, so he simply waved his hand in their direction. He turned around and wanted to leave, not planning to listen to them anymore, fearing that he would fall into their trap, and his steps became anxious. "Brother Bai, don't leave. We haven't heard what we said yet." Erzu and the others saw Bai Luo's actions and quickly grabbed his arm and started talking in his direction. The people around him also followed suit, and Bai Luo was still a little irritated when he heard it. He hadn't been so lively for a long time. After Erzu finished speaking, he observed Bai Luo's expression and found that his frown had eased a little, so he continued to express their enthusiasm. They finally succeeded in getting Bai Luo to sit down, and when they told them the good news, their eyes became bright and dim. Bai Luo knew that there was no way to change the situation today, so he listened to what they said next resignedly, thinking that no matter what it was, he was ready to refuse directly. After he thought it over, he saw that the people around him had surrounded him, which made him feel even more helpless, so he shook his head and said nothing. "Brother Bai, it's like this. We came here this time to show our loyalty. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR first published this novel. We want to support you to become the new mayor." Erzu and the people around him looked at each other, and then told the purpose of their coming here, and then observed Bai Luo's expression. After they finished speaking, their faces were full of joy, as if they had become the new mayor, and Bai Luo naturally disagreed. Bai Luo had no intention of doing this at all, so he wanted to tell the truth directly, and was ready to let them give up this matter. "What? I don't agree. Brother Bai, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." After he finished expressing his opinion, he saw that they were shocked for a moment, and soon recovered their previous appearance, and continued to persuade them. The people around Erzu also echoed, thinking about this matter, and all looked at Bai Luo with expectant eyes. Bai Luo listened to their voices, and suddenly thought of a previous incident, which made him excited, and stood up all of a sudden, stretched out his hand, and pointed in their direction with some trembling. "Erzu, why is it so familiar? Didn't I reject you before?" His voice became a little hoarse. After what they just said, he realized this matter that was buried in his memory. Bai Luo thought that they had brought up this matter before. No wonder it was so familiar, or it felt like deja vu. Erzu and the others laughed embarrassedly when they heard what Bai Luo and the others said, and even their expressions became uncomfortable. They didn't expect Bai Luo to still remember such a thing, so they continued to get close to him, and prepared to continue persuading him. The purpose of Erzu and the others' visit this time was to make him agree, so they would use many methods to make Bai Luo agree to this matter. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.